news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
The afternoon drive.
They're not good. Like the Steelers need a full reset. And now they're going to be able to do it.
This is Mike Tomlin saying, I've never had a losing season in Pittsburgh, and if I come back next year, there's no shot in hell that I'm going to be able to do that, right? You can't tell me that Mike Tomlin is an incredibly smart guy. He knew where his bread was buttered when it came to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You cannot tell me that he didn't look at this and go, we need a rebuild, and I'm not rebuilding. I'm not doing that.
The afternoon drive. Weekdays starting at 2. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
What do you think of Shador? Is he the quarterback of the future? What would you do if you were the Browns?
I wouldn't do it, but I think they're going to roll with him, and the reason is it's just a really weak quarterback class. Who do they hire to become the coach? Now, that's the other question, because if he's an offensive guy or the offensive coordinator is going to bring a quarterback with him. And so if it's one of those vet quarterbacks that needs a second chance, I don't think you can keep Shador if you draft somebody else.
You got a 30-year-old young man out there, and I worry about his support system, clearly. I worry about his support system because you got a tenuous situation with the general manager. I think if they hired him, I think the owner, and guys, he did it for Kevin. I think the owner would go, hey, he needs time. At the same time, are you letting a 30-year-old then turn around and help you hire your general manager if you move on from the general manager? I think what a guy like Yadinsky does is he buys more time. You wrote Nate Scheelhaase as an offensive wizard. You wrote that twice. Now, my thoughts is that this town's only big enough for one wizard. That's the slippery wizard to my right. Why is Nate Scheelhaase a, quote, offensive wizard?
He is just one of those bright, brilliant offensive minds. He's someone that can help Sean McVay draw up plays. And if you can do that, then you know you're onto something. He's just a rising star in the business, but he's not the only one. Grant Udinski is described in the same way.
The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima. This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan. Hell yeah. Hi, how are you?
What's going on, Kenny?
All right, we're off and running. I'm feeling okay. I thought my voice was going to be totally gassed when we started the show today.
I was a little nervous for you yesterday.
Oh, boy.
Because at one point you handed the reins over to me, and you're like,
yeah. I was like, you got to talk.
I need to start getting in conservation mode.
Yep, because so the weather was bad last night. I thought, like we were talking to Ted. We have a producer named Ted. We had the CSU game last night, had the fan event. 92.3 The Fan night out over at the CSU game. They played the Green Bay Phoenix. Yes, the Phoenix. They rose like a phoenix against us, and we ended up losing.
Blew the lead.
It was a spirited fight. Do you say we blew a lead when you lost by 15?
You had the lead, and you blew it.
Either way. So in the game, we were very happy that with the terrible weather, still people came. Because the weather was bad. Like, we were talking to Ted, and Ted's like, it'll be fine by the afternoon. It was not fine by the afternoon. The ROADs were terrible still. It really wasn't clear on the way home, and then last night, and then this morning it was kind of okay. So the roads are a little bit better today, and I don't think nearly as many places have anything closed today. So hopefully your morning is a little bit more normal than it usually is. But I decided to have a little bit more fun than I thought I was going to have, and I was trying to let Gottlieb have it. I got to tell you, he did a good job of staying focused. He did a real good job. Yeah, Rob Summers seemed to have a lot more fun with us than anything with Doug Gottlieb.
Oh, yeah. Coach was great. I mean, first of all, dresses the part, looks the part.
God. Finally.
Tallest coach in America.
I'm not a suit guy. I've never actually worn a tie on TV. Now, if they were like, hey, we want you to wear a tie now, I wear a tie. I'm not a big suit guy. But something about a coach in a suit, just the classic look, the way it used to be. A basketball coach wearing a suit.
Meanwhile, Gottlieb comes in athleisure, like right from the hotel. This is what I wore on the flight. Yeah. This is what I'm wearing to coach.
It's like he just got off the bus.
I mean, really, come on, Doug. Let's start to understand.
Let's class it up a
we
little
are
bit.
Blessed to be coaching college basketball.
Yes, we are.
And treat it with the dignity that it deserves.
I totally agree with you. I completely 100% agree.
Also, Doug, if you're listening, your histrionics on the sideline. That is beyond the pale.
Well, I wanted to ask you. I found him to be very engaged. I watched him very closely.
He was relentless
because
with the officials.
I'm like, okay, it is year 2. Are you putting on a show? Are you more capable in your own abilities? Are you more confident in your own abilities? I think they're now 11-8, so like he's kind of got it turning around. Last year was a really, really rough year for them. He's kind of got it turning around this year. He really let the refs have it. He really let the refs have it.
There was
his coaches were always up too. I was
yes,
like,
they were.
You guys need to sit
there
down.
There were 30 guys
supposed
standing
to be up.
It almost seemed like he had too many assistant coaches.
There was plenty of them.
And there was a foul like 60 feet from the basket, and then he marched out to half court to chew out that official.
And we let him have it for marching out on the court.
And he should have been ejected.
Yes.
Let's be honest. He should have been ejected.
I agree. I thought it was unbecoming. This is something that I say that gets picked up by Barrett or something like that. And I'm like, we were joking.
Gottlieb was unbecoming of the job.
Awful announcing. Carman, unbecoming of a basketball coach. Like, no. I was kidding. But he was a little bit terse.
Yes, and
with the refs and with everybody else.
Look, there's no doubt for one day we became Cleveland State diehard fans. We met.
What do you mean one day? I'm in now.
I
am in now. I am green and white.
We met all the luminaries over there, the fundraisers, the donors,
the
Dr. Laura Bloomberg.
Yes.
And I just don't think she'd put up with what they are putting up with over there in Green Bay.
We were movers and shakers last night, so we had fun, and we're very thankful to all the people at CSU. We both rode the bull. I saw the
I think
saw the comments.
I think we both lasted under 2.5 seconds.
You want to go ahead and make that joke now, or are we waiting for coming in hot?
I didn't realize, Kenny, are there rules you can only have one hand?
Well, yeah, I said you got to have one hand.
Kenny told me, and I was like all clinched and ready to go because I'd seen you. You did it first, and you were the canary in the coal mine because you flew right off there, and I'm like, oh God, well, I'm gonna get hurt.
Yeah, which I didn't realize. Social media reactions, Kayla, if you can get on the microphone there. Our social media reactions are brought to you by who?
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Absolutely beautiful. 9:09 and 10 seconds for those scoring at home. The social media reactions on the fan account of us riding the bull. Especially I thought I was going to be able to hold on for way longer than it started because I thought it was going to be easy. I was on for like 3 seconds.
You were 3 seconds.
Maybe.
Some girl.
Maybe.
I don't know if she's a college student or what, some petite girl. She was on there for 86 seconds.
Oh, yeah. No,
she was reading a book. She pulled up her phone.
There has to be 2 modes. There has to be adult mode and kid mode. Because during halftime, Todd and Lakewood, he runs the scoreboard, runs either the shot clock, something. Todd and Lakewood was talking to me. Great listener, been a listener for 14 years. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, like there was people on there for 60 seconds, 70 seconds. And I looked, and there was like just some kid, and he's just kind of having a fun time. I was like, there has to be different modes here. And so I think when you and I got on.
I mean, we got launched.
And they were like, hey, it's Ken and Anthony from The Fan and all the other things. I think that they were like, okay, we're throwing this.
It was a different mode.
I'm throwing this pig off of here.
Did you have like the local fair where supposedly like Friday night, they had a name for it. We can't really say the name. They had a name for it where they'd dial it up a notch and all the rides would go a little bit crazier.
I don't know what it's called for that Friday. Do we want to do mics off? No, because I don't want you mic.
No, yeah, that's right. They can see
us. You got YouTube. They can see your face.
We can't do mics off anymore.
Well, you can cover your face.
The
moment's passed. Go ahead. What were you saying?
Anyway, that's what I wondered too. Is if it's just a flip of the switch, and they can make us look really bad. And boy, did we look bad.
But I thought it was. I'm watching it, and I basically look like a giant marshmallow going into a thing of hot chocolate.
I know.
Like, I thought it was much more violent, Kayla, than what it was, and I just basically fall off like, here's your dollop of marshmallow, like into the cream, like that was it. I was like, oh man, I thought
it's like those wrestlers. They tell you that mat doesn't give, that area didn't give. Kenny, you were limping.
You pulled me out of there. You had to pull me out. It was like you were like Forrest Gump pulling me out of the jungle there.
We needed like a lumberjacks match. We needed like 30 people around there to help us out because we got thrown into the crowd, much to the delight of everybody. And
Chris, Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that we did some announcing. There was musical chairs. There was hobby horse. Are our listeners? Do they understand?
Hobby horse was great.
The joy that is hobby horse. Isn't it in the Olympics now?
Yes.
I think it is.
Is hobby horse in the Olympics?
Where you just have a pole and a horse's head straight out of The Godfather, right there. And
competitive hobby horse riding.
And you straddle it and you do the limbo. You jump over.
Run around. It's fun. They do it. It's big in Finland, apparently.
Okay.
The comments are incredible. Matt says he's going to have trouble on seeing this. Joe Gunn, all those hours of watching Sarah J. film, and that's the performance you put out there. I have one that looks like I'm on an island. I'm not going to say what that is. That's for later on at 9:45. Chris here writes, new season of Yellowstone looks great.
Yeah, because it was country western night.
Yes, it was something. Get Lost 53 says, disappointing cowboy. Yeah, I mean, it's something. It was, they're saying I didn't even try. I tried.
I saw a lot of Brokeback Mountain references.
Try. I've never been on one before. Guys, I tried. I was just bad at it, fellas. Just bad.
Well, that's the thing. If you are good at that out of nowhere, like where did that come from? Where did that skill and ability come from?
Oh, God, I'm going to have to text guys.
That dexterity.
Hopefully my buddies are listening from back home. We had a guy who was on the wrestling team at Perry who did it, who did like horses, broncos, bulls, the whole thing. Yes. He had the belt buckles and all that other stuff. Like, he did it. I don't remember who. I've watched, like, J.B. Mooney do it back in the day on PBR. Like, I've seen that. But I've never – look at me, for crying out loud. I've never done it.
That was absolutely something that everybody as a kid,
business.
If you had ESPN and they were filling time, that was absolutely something they would show. And you were just mortified by guys getting chucked off, getting bucked off so crazy. We're like, how are they not breaking their arms every time?
Well, either way, we had a fantastic time, and we're thankful for all the fine folks over at CSU. We're thankful to Christy and Jeremy and Keith and everybody who helped out making it happen last night here at the Fan.
I'll tell you.
Jonathan came.
Yes,
Mac
Jonathan
came.
Nick Wilson was nowhere to be found.
I was disappointed.
Come on, Nick.
I wanted to talk to Jonathan more than I ended up getting a chance to talk to, because I was talking to listeners. I didn't get a chance to talk to JP.
I had a in-depth conversation about a guest they had on yesterday, and we are going to play some of the content from that very interview.
You mean like here in like 10 seconds here or so?
Oh,
Okay.
we're here. Okay.
Well, yeah, let's play it. So yesterday, Peterlin and Nick, which I did say the thing. I was like, I was listening to your thing, and for a second I was like, he don't believe me. And I had to bring up how I agreed with him that I'm glad that Harbaugh has made his decision already. It's like, all right, we can move on from the dream stuff, and we can go on and get to the real nitty-gritty of everything. I totally agree with Jonathan's take about that yesterday around 2:30. But here's Emory Hunt yesterday, ESPN, correct? We've had Emory on before. Emory on Nick and Jonathan yesterday, where I think Lima drew some ire, and so did some of the other fans. Here we go.
The fact that they nailed the draft picks on top of getting some undrafted free agents, and you look at, a quarterback in Shador Sanders, that's the big elephant in the room. I think that's why people are being disingenuous about the Browns, because they're being disingenuous about their evaluation of Shador Sanders. You include him in that draft class. This guy got 7 weeks of first-team reps, and in those 7 weeks, with a worse-off roster than the guys that started the season with, they went 3-4. So imagine if he had gotten the entire offseason and started from week 1, maybe the Browns already would be a 9-win team, and we're talking about 2026, the potential opportunity for them to go really far in the playoffs. So I look at it from a glass-half-full perspective. I'm not disingenuous about Shador Sanders, nor this draft class, nor the talent on his roster. This is a team that can win a lot of games in 2026 if they start to stockpile the offense like they did this year with the defense.
By the way, I missaid it. CBS Sports HQ, I beg your pardon. That's Emory Hunt from CBS Sports HQ on Afternoon Drive with Nick and Jonathan. What if Shador would have started all year? It's one of the big what ifs out there. Because I still stand and I think that this is part of what cost Kevin his job, and we'll know more as time goes on. So these are working theories. Like the stuff about Deshaun, I'm pretty solid on all that years ago. But this is still we got to get through the fog here. Had he had a training camp of any reputation, does he start earlier? Possibly. Does some of the stuff pre-draft, if he's taken third round, there's so many things where I'm going, if he would have played earlier, would he have been able to keep his job? Kevin, if Shador would have played earlier, would he have been able to keep his job? Would we even say like the
also,
whole thing this would have been a better job? It's like, well, if they would have won 9 games, Kevin ain't going anywhere.
Would he have been benched? Because they would have been bad, and they were going to be bad regardless. Guys, every quarterback they used this year, whether it was Joe Flacco, whether it was Kenny Pickett, whether it was Dylan Gabriel, the numbers were bad every stretch. The funny thing was it got worse. It got worse. People say it couldn't get worse after Flacco, and then it got worse. It couldn't get worse after Dylan Gabriel, and then it got worse. Yes, they won games at the end of the year, but they were playing the easiest part of their schedule. When it came to like the defenses they went up against, they did win games at the end of the year, but their defense was like all-time dominant during that stretch. It had nothing to do with their offense. Their offense was not the reason they won those games. And in fact, they lost to Tennessee, which was one of the worst teams in football.
Would he have been better in those spots had he played earlier?
I got to say, I didn't really see this is where we'll probably disagree.
Well,
I don't think he really got better at a bunch of things. I know that was a narrative that was out there, but I didn't see any numbers that actually backed that up that he got better.
I'm one of the people with the narrative. 216-474-0092. All right, let's get in our corners and we'll debate this. What if Shador would have been able to start all year? What if he would have started a lot sooner? Because I think there's a lot of tentacles to it, and I do want to fight you on what he got better at and what we think he got better at coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Hey, don't.
this morning, the dangerous one, Daryl Ryder. Is this job looking better or worse as time goes on? Jeremy Fowler, ESPN insider, used to be here in Cleveland. Now he's jet-setting all over the country. He's at 9:20 this morning. Is there a name we're not talking about that we should be? Andrew Siciliano, play-by-play voice of the Browns. He's mentioning some names, and I think I might give that name to you coming up at 7 o'clock. There's a name that's kind of flying under the radar here that Siciliano has dropped on the shows on Baskin and Phelps, and then he was on another show just like yesterday afternoon, and he said the same name twice. And I think it's going to kind of come out of nowhere to some folks, so I want to play that at 7 o'clock this morning and let you guys all hear that, because I think that name's going to be an interesting one. 216-474-0092. Emory Hunt, yesterday afternoon, CBS Sports HQ, football guy, talked about another football guy, and Shador Sanders hit it.
The fact that they nailed the draft pick on top of getting some undrafted free agents, and you look at, a quarterback in Shador Sanders, that's the big elephant in the room. I think that's why people are being disingenuous about the Browns, because they're being disingenuous about their evaluation of Shador Sanders. You include him in that draft class. This guy got 7 weeks of first-team reps, and in those 7 weeks, with a worse-off roster than the guys that started the season with, it went 3-4. So imagine if he had gotten the entire offseason and started from week 1, maybe the Browns already would be a 9-win team, and we're talking about 2026, the potential opportunity for them to go really far in the playoffs. So I look at it from a glass half full perspective. I'm not disingenuous about Shador Sanders, nor this draft class, nor the talent on his roster. This is a team that can, win a lot of games in 2026 if they start to stockpile the offense like they did this year with the defense.
You can hear that entire interview, 923thefan.com. Would anything be different had he played earlier? 216-474-0092. Are we looking for head coaches had he played earlier? Are we looking for head coaches if he had a different style, or if they would have handled things differently in the training camp, off season, those things? Would things be any different? It's hard for me to say yes. But I also think I can only go by what they've done. If you give me a minute to explain myself, this is why I want to say yes. I do think he got better at certain things as the season went on. I still think he's a project. And if you can find yourself a franchise quarterback, yeah, you're going to do it. Problem is that I don't think you can really find yourself a franchise quarterback. So now I think that you have a situation where, yeah, he's going to end up playing for you in 2026. And I'm certainly, obviously, not upset by that whatsoever. I think he got better with feet. I think he got better with vision, which usually those things are 2 and 2 because your feet take your eyes. I think he got a better grip of the offense. I think he got a better grip with trying to lead his teammates on offense. Even though, hey, offensive line wasn't good. He had struggles at times. I mean, falling backwards and some of the other things. The game against Cincinnati, I think over time, and I'm going to paint you out to be a villain here, over time, you're going to have to remind me of the game against Cincinnati. I'm just going to tell you right now, because I can see where I'm going to go with it. As I think he's the most realistic option to start. I will not want to remember the game against Cincinnati. I guarantee it. So I think he got better at those things. And then I'm not trying to rip on the guy, man, but he outperformed your third-round pick, and I'm thinking, why did we do all this with this third-round choice? I'm not trying to be mean. I don't hate the guy. I know that some people, because of the discourse, that some people have been defensive of him. I'm just letting you guys know, okay, yeah, you could have still taken Shador in the 5th round, but he clearly, to me, and I know the stats say different, I think that anybody who watched the games, I think he outperformed Dylan Gabriel. And I'm thinking, hey, man, even if he's playing like a later round pick, what were you doing in the 3rd round with the other guy? And so that sticks with me, Anthony. I'm sorry.
On any of those nifty charts that get produced, they're both like dead last.
I understand.
There was not.
I understand.
Statistically, there wasn't really a gap between the two. We just saw one throw the ball down the field and actually complete some passes down the field. We didn't see that, obviously.
And that's
with
honestly my bar is not high. That's kind of what I was like.
Now,
can anybody test anybody downfield? Dylan didn't do that.
Now, there were way more bad sacks with Shador. There were way more interceptable, turnover-worthy plays.
There were.
In fact, Shador had the most in the league last year. the most off-target, interceptable worthy plays. So they actually got lucky in a lot of the games that Shador was throwing the football.
I think I can explain that, but
it's hard for me because the Cincinnati game, I mean, Cincinnati, one of the worst defenses statistically in the league, and he just couldn't move the football. He just couldn't do anything, and it's a Week 18 game. I saw Riley Leonard moving the football against Houston and a lot of their starters, and we just never saw that with Shador. We would see like 1 or 2 drives a game, and fortunately, for the last drive of the game where he moved the ball 40 yards, that was a good. I put that in the, hey, that's a pro.
But I'm going to tell you right now,
he was able to be kind of unflappable.
I understand Riley Leonard looked better. I would take Riley Leonard's offensive line and Riley Leonard's weapons over the weapons that I was giving Shador Sanders. Going back to Dylan Gabriel, I was excited because one guy seemed to be able to test the secondary whatsoever. And I think part of that was old habits. I think that's a guy who had to push the football with the weapons he had when he was at Colorado. And then when you really don't get a chance to do a lot of work, because you got to get ready for a season. When you don't get a chance to do a lot of work as a football team with him, that's some of the things that you're going to go back to. That's some of the habits you're going to go back to. And if that sounds like a giant excuse for everybody, fine. But this is where we're at right now with this football team and with him.
I had to take issue with we had a back and forth. And he's been on the show. I think he's a great guest. That was a engaging interview yesterday. I just couldn't believe the pity party that was being thrown for Shador again. I'm like, we're still talking about preseason reps. Like, they're not doing that in New Orleans with Shook. They're not doing that with Jackson Dart with the Giants.
I disagree with you.
This cattle cry of, oh my God, he didn't get an opportunity. It's like, dude, Shador got an amazing opportunity. He got to start a bunch of games as a 5th-round pick in the NFL, something you just don't get. You don't think Riley Leonard? They went and got Phillip Rivers to come start games. So where is the Riley Leonard fan base going, our guy didn't get enough reps, and why did they waste our time with Phillip Rivers? You just don't hear that because it's the NFL. It's life in the big city. Like, at some point, you have to start acting like a professional. You have to, and I'm not saying that Shador was fine. His camp is obviously
here we go with Tone again.
But, the question is, like, some people say, I've seen people say that, well, the camp is putting out the messaging Shador wants them to put out, because they're employed by Shador. So I don't know. I haven't seen him say anything. But it's obviously all the people around him that surround him all the time make all these excuses, and then it cascades to all the fans and the cult that follows him on a daily basis.
But I don't think that they're excuses.
And this is my problem. By the way, the offensive line for the Browns in pass protection was graded out higher during Shador's run than the other quarterbacks. So it didn't matter that you don't know who the guys are. They actually, and by the way, that matched the eye test. I kept saying, like, man, Shador has more time to throw than I thought the other guys did. Like, and you even agreed with me in some of those games. And then it turns out, too, maybe it wasn't the offensive line was better. It was they were going up against weaker defensive lines, which was true.
Listen, these are not excuses. What he says about some of the things that are there, like the disingenuous stuff, I think that he's fighting other media members that are sitting there wondering about what he is. I get that. And I think that there is I think that people are a little bit tired, including myself, which I've defended, Kevin, of some of the back and forth about the head coach, okay? But this is where it is.
Oh, you think he was sabotaging Shador?
No, I do not think he was sabotaging Shador.
You didn't think, by the way, one of the stories I saw yesterday that we were tagged in by a bunch of people, it was like, is this true? And it was that the Browns hired those thieves to come in and disrupt Shador and steal his stuff. Like, this is what you morons are putting out there. You weirdos in the cult are putting that stuff out there, and then we're being asked about whether or not it's true. Like, guys,
I didn't see that.
62 quarterbacks started this year. I saw one pity party. 61 other fan bases of quarterbacks were like, it's tough league. I mean, not everybody gets thrown into a great situation.
Well, One
out of 62 acted as immature as his fan base and putting out those kind of crazy conspiracy theories.
Well, okay.
Maybe you guys should look around and go, why are the other 61 quarterbacks and their fan bases, why are they secure and we're the most insecure fan base of all the 62 quarterbacks that started this year?
You're going to send me down a rabbit hole here during the break that I can't go down right now because I did not see any of that. I'm sorry. I swear to God. And I know Jason Whitlock will call me the chubby guy on the right and say I'm scared to death. Guys, I did not see any of that, but that's absolutely ridiculous. If what you're saying is true, that they're saying that's absolutely ridiculous.
It's
Let me go back to
anything they say would be believable.
Let me go
Kenny,
back to
because
this.
they've done it. They've said the craziest stuff. From calling Kevin a racist to calling Andrew Berry an Uncle Tom.
Well, I'm not.
You
fighting.
guys are weird.
Hold on.
Just admit that you guys are weird.
Well, who are you yelling at 6:33 on a Friday
morning?
morning?
Look at them.
I'm
Look
not
at the comments.
seeing them on YouTube right now. I'm talking to you. I got the computer off. Sorry, I moved the camera.
Oh, boy.
All right, let me get to this. Riley Leonard. You mentioned Riley Leonard. I saw what he did at Duke, and then I saw what he did at Notre Dame. I saw what Shador Sanders had to do at Jackson State in Colorado. You mentioned Jackson Dart. We've talked about Jackson Dart ad nauseum. We've talked about Tyler Shook ad nauseum. But these were guys that they went and made investment, with the exception of Riley Leonard. I'll grant you Riley Leonard. That you weren't asked to do a whole lot if you were Riley Leonard. But if you go to the other two guys that you're comparing him with, there's no comparison. You took a guy at 25 overall if you're the Giants. You took the other guy in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, with Tyler Shook. Of course you're going to give those guys reps. The one had Russell Wilson in front of him. Please, you might as well put a dead body in front
Shador
of him.
Was
and
lucky.
The other one had Spencer Rattler in front of him.
Shador's living a blessed life that he got that opportunity.
You were going to get reps. The other one, and this is why Kevin's out looking for work right now, apparently, is because you put Dylan Gabriel in there, and for whatever reason, they had faith in Dylan Gabriel. And you had two older quarterbacks there, so you had four quarterbacks. Without a doubt, anybody had seen during the season that the fifth-round pick you were better off with than the third-round pick. So what you did in the offseason sets you in motion for what you've done now. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you're saying about any cult. You know it's true. If you're talking about people being disingenuous, you're being disingenuous about it.
I don't think that way, Kenny, obviously, because I'm the one
think that way?
Because I'm the one that authored up these amazing points that I didn't hear you refute. But I also got to say,
I just refuted them on the...
Shador is living a blessed life. He was fourth string on the depth chart. He was passed up how many times over by the NFL, and he still got all these games to start, and yet all I hear from his fan base are, he wasn't given a fair chance.
Forget the fan base. You're talking to me.
That's who I'm talking. No, I'm talking to Emory Hunt. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to all these people in his camp that can't get it through their heads that you're not given some guaranteed starting job in this league. Like, you have to earn. If anything, I don't even know if he earned it. It's like they traded Joe Flacco because there was an offer, and the guy ahead of him got a concussion.
I don't know.
Or we wouldn't even have seen him that much. So you know what? Maybe you should count your blessings. You guys all #blessed. Count your blessings.
Again,
you're fortunate you even got this opportunity.
It's Kenny. I'm here in front of you. It's me. I'm arguing with you. I'm not arguing with anybody else. You're having this fictitious argument with all these other people that aren't even here right now.
Are you not seeing? Are you not seeing what they say?
Argue with me.
Have you not taken the
phone
calls?
With me. You're doing the show with me.
But do you not hear these? These aren't the points.
216-474-0092. I'll open it up on a cold winter's day on a Friday.
They just had Emory Hunt on yesterday, and these were all points that he made.
I understand that, and we played that to set sail with this because I think you're wrong. I've used these examples. You have not refuted them. All you have done is argue with people on the internet under fake names, under people on YouTube, and God knows what else.
He kept using the term. This is a real person. Emory Hunt is a real person. You can look up his credentials. He was on the air yesterday. We played his cut twice. That's who I'm responding to. He said insanity. That's what he was saying.
You've only said Emory Hunt a couple times. You've been talking about cults and God knows what else.
Yeah, these are the things that he said. That's what I'm responding to.
216-474-0092. Is Lima right? Are there any excuses? Excuses is such a terrible word. I think that these are reasons. Because I only can go by evidence. And what did I see with evidence? If anything, we're talking about another guy where maybe they set him up wrong, and Dylan Gabriel for crying out loud, drafting him in the first place in the third round.
His numbers were worse than DTRs. Let that sink in for a second.
216-474-0092. Ken Carman, Tone Master General on the Fan.
XTENDAV.com. We're just talking sports. It's fun. Just two guys at the end of a bar having a beverage.
I think if people saw us yelling at each other at the end of a bar, they'd be like,
oh, boy.
Calling security.
They call it Galax. Bust up another one.
216-474-0092. There are people who agree with you on it.
I was asked this. It's funny. This argument that we just got into, there was no shortage of people yesterday at the CSU game. Like, but what do you guys really think?
Well, that's the weird
Shador?
thing about it. I say everything I mean about Shador on the air. I say everything. And I've been kind of, what bothers me about this so much is if I think he's going to be a franchise quarterback, I'll tell you he's a franchise quarterback. I've not said once that he's the franchise quarterback of the team.
You've been open to giving him a chance.
I'm open to giving him a chance because right now he's the best, most interesting thing that I have going for my football team in 2026 that I still don't think is going to be that good.
And I agree, by the way.
So
I know
what
it doesn't
the
sound
hell are
like
we always fighting about every single effing morning about this guy? Why?
The difference is, like, I'm sitting here going, all right, obviously they're not in position to take a quarterback. Like the Mendoza and Dante Moore is out of the equation now, and you and I are both kind of in the same boat.
Like if they
with
were
Ty
number
Simpson.
1 overall or anything like that, or they were number 2 or 3 or whatever with a team that was looking to trade, let's talk turkey. But you're with a team, it's impossible. So I'm not even gonna dignify the conversations in so many ways.
I'm with. I mean, there's a conversation to be had. Like if Ty Simpson falls in the second round or the third round, like would you do this again? I'm with you. We can't do this again. We just did it with Dylan Gabriel and Shador. So I'm with you there. I just think he just has to compete for it. I'm not gifting him the job and just saying it's because he didn't get opportunities last year. Like, this is the NFL. You're lucky to get what you get.
I am still convinced, as much as I'm arguing with you on this, because I do. I think that some of you guys are being absolutely ridiculous. You can't compare a first-rounder and the second-rounder to where he was at. Why I'm so cross about it is because I feel that we wasted training camp in a season that they still won 5 games, that they really should have won 3 games. We wasted training camp time with a guy that should not have been taken in the 3rd round.
Which we both agreed on.
That's my issue. So we agree on that.
We don't even, guys, don't even bring up Dylan Gabriel.
That's why I'm upset. It's not about fairness or not, because I know that the NFL isn't fair. The NFL is not fair. Because they could go in the next season, if they still have the same 3 quarterbacks, I think Deshaun Watson, if he goes out there and he's gangbusters, they're going to go, yeah, he ain't part of the future. Let's go see what 12 has again. So that's not being fair. But I'm just looking at it for what it is. So I went through an entire preseason. I don't care about any of those stats. You know, I think those stats that people keep are stupid about it because we don't even know the situations that we're put in. So I'm just going to tell some of the new people we have listening now, I was saying that during training camp. But it was absolutely patently ridiculous to see a guy that they took in the 3rd round not try to push the ball down the field, afraid to throw the football, pull his eyes down and run. And we're over here bickering about Shador Sanders because one guy is more popular than the other guy. Because I just look at the 3rd round and I go, man, we could have got ourselves another lineman. We could have got ourselves any other bit of help. We could have got another, 3rd round wide receivers aren't necessarily Andrew's forte. But either way, and it's turned into this great big argument here. But damn it, like, I get painted into this corner, and I said it on Monday. If you guys want to call them a cult, call them a cult. I know that they're fans. I'm not going to deny what I think is the truth. And what I think is the truth is that I think he's the guy, as of right now, who starts this season for the Cleveland Browns. I also know that depending on how all these things go, is that I think that Mac Jones is in the conversation. I think Malik Willis is in the conversation. Dare I say, I think that in some way after this season, depending on what the Falcons want to do with their new guy, I think Kirk Cousins could be in the conversation, even though, boy, I saw him stuck in mud. I think that some of these other guys, again, the only 2 that I just don't want any part of is I really don't want to have any bit of Deshaun Watson because I don't want him playing to some modicum of success and then tricking us.
And then doing this all over again?
Yeah, I don't want that to happen. And Tua and Kyler are non-starters to me. I told you yesterday, and I know that you were getting texts from home. Kyler, I'd rather slam my head in a car door than have him start the season for us. And Tua, I can't even say what I do to myself on the radio. because it involves mutilation of what I'd rather do when it comes to Tua Tagovailoa playing for my football team. So there you go. Yeah,
Well,
I'd rather have the guy that we sit here and bicker and argue about.
I would too.
That would, honestly, let's be honest, if you had the number one pick, they'd replace him like that.
Yeah, and the thing is,
I understand that. I know that going in. Can we be honest with each other?
I don't think people can. I think people would.
Okay, fine.
I think people would shoot that down, even though Mendoza's had this amazing year and could win a national championship at Indiana. I'll repeat myself, Indiana. And he was the Heisman Trophy winner. And he's been perfect in the playoffs so far. Absolutely perfect. I've never seen anything like it. They still don't want him. But whatever. Doesn't matter. It's a moot point now. And you're right. Tua and Kyler. Like, Kyler had 7 years. Tua 6. Like, that's the difference. Like, those guys today are probably better than Shador Sanders right now. But what more do you need to see out of those guys? Like, that's the difference. Now, Malik Willis, that's where it gets interesting because he started so few games. But, man, has he given. That's why he's going to make a lot of money based on very few games.
We'll see where that goes. 216-474-0092. Darian in Cleveland. You've been most patient. You're first up on the fan. Hello, Darian.
Hey, how you doing today?
We're doing wonderful. Go ahead.
First thing I want to say is Kevin Stefanski should have been fired well before this season. His offense is very mundane. He never tried. He was terrible. And yes,
I think he tried. His offense might have been mundane, but we're splitting hairs. Go ahead.
Shador Sanders does deserve to say that he didn't get the best because the offense, I don't care what nobody say, it's no offensive line that's rated high with Cam Robinson on it. He was terrible. Cam Robinson, I don't even know if he probably was out there with a lawn chair blocking because it was so many times defenders walked right past him. But overall, the reason why we want to see Shador over Dillon Gabriel or we want to see Shador over any other quarterback is because he consistently learned throughout the weeks that he was playing. If you give this kid a full year, you give him some time in the offseason earlier, that's the only reason why people are complaining because we see the growth that he constantly created. And so we're saying, dang, if we would have got that early on, where would he have been now? Where would his team have been? What are we even looking to keep trying to get a win for when we need to figure out who's our wide receiver, our best receiver is a tight end? What franchises win with that? And very mundane plays. When we were mismanaging the clock, I see all these stats about Kevin Stefanski did the best with timeouts. How many games did we lose early this year because of his mismanagement of the clock?
Well, Minnesota game.
Stats are terrible.
Yeah.
Stats are terrible.
Darian?
All of these pseudosciences, yes.
No, I was because I want to get one more in. Thank you for the call. When it comes to some of the other stuff, like I get defensive of Kevin in some ways, but you go from last year to this year, and I really do think it all boils down to how training camp went. If they wouldn't have taken Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round, or they wouldn't have taken Shador in the 5th round, fine. But when you had that situation with 4 quarterbacks. And then I'm seeing somebody who I think clearly has a higher ceiling when we're still out there. It's not about whether or not, like, Dillon Gabriel can end up being a quarterback for the next 8-10 years as a backup. And maybe Shador will go out there and he'll fall all over himself this coming season, next season, and then he ends up in the UFL or something like that. I just see a guy who I'd rather give time to than the other one because I'm going for the guy who might have the biggest ceiling because I'm looking for a franchise guy. It's that simple.
I'm surprised Dillon's even coming up in our conversations, to be honest, because me and you are so dead set against him.
Because that's what I'm arguing about. It's not. I don't care about what they did in New Orleans. I don't care about what they did with the Giants. I think that those are different situations. I care about here. And I'm not trying to make Dillon Gabriel out to be the villain, even though it sounds like it. I don't want you guys to boo him when he hits the field, when he goes out there. I really don't. It's the situation that you're in.
Well, that's why I bring up
a complete waste of time.
If we
wanted
to,
I did not
we
feel
agree.
that Shador was a waste of time.
That's why I don't understand the pity party by the people that bring all this stuff up with Shador. I'm like, man, Dillon Gabriel deserves the pity party too, but we're not giving it to him. Me and you are not giving it to him. He had terrible offensive line play. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers in his games. The lack of a running game. I think he had one game where Judkins went off, but he didn't really have that much of a running game. Offensive line was bad. He got booed anytime he was getting into the game. Like, people went after his girlfriend or his fiance or whatever it was. Like, and he didn't get his job. He lost his job with a concussion and never got it back. We didn't do a pity party for him, nor will I. I just listed those just to say that if he had a fan base at all, and maybe the only ones he has are really in Oregon and Hawaii, like, they would have every excuse in the book. The difference is I'm only hearing the excuses for one guy. I'm not hearing them for him.
I'm going to get to some of you guys coming up. Also, I told you guys I'd play it at 7:03. I'm going to play it at 7:03. A new name from a very important place that we should be paying attention to when it comes to this search. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, and the curious case of Darius Garland coming up on The Fan.
This
from an important place. He said this on 2 different shows. Here is Andrew Siciliano, play-by-play voice of your Cleveland Browns, on one name that not a lot of shows have brought up other than when Andrew's been on.
I only have one guy in mind if they're going to hire a defensive coach. I love Jesse Minter. It isn't Jesse Minter. He plays an entire system. I mean, Jesse Minter is all about is what Mike McDonald plays in Seattle. Very effective system, but they're not going to go single high and pin your earbacks with an attack front that just go after the quarterback. That's not what they do.
Right.
So I don't know that Jesse Minter and Jim Schwartz actually overlap well. If you want to hire a defensive coordinator and a young one, go get Matt Burke of the Houston Texans. They run the same system. Matt Burke actually was an assistant in Philadelphia under Jim Schwartz. He was his linebackers coach there. He's a bright guy, Dartmouth guy. You want to talk about Ivy League? Matt Burke checks every box, and everybody that's ever been with Matt Burke loves him. He's got the number 1 defense in football. People say, oh, Aaron Rodgers has never seen this defense before. Nonsense. He saw it a couple of weeks ago at Huntington Bank Field. It's the same defense.
Yeah.
And his 2 worst games of the year were against Jim Schwartz and the Browns and Matt Burke and the Texans. Now, I don't know their personal relationship, but if you want a fiery defensive head coach, or assistant rather, to be your head coach, it makes all the sense in the world to go get the guy that's worked with Jim Schwartz and that other teams want to talk to as well.
Now, this is 2 separate shows that he said this on, not just on The Fan, by the way. That's 2 times that he has mentioned Matt Burke. Andrew Siciliano has. Now, I don't know if Andrew knows anything or anything like that. I mean, it would go to stand that he knows some things. I mean, he is the play-by-play voice of the Browns. Let's call it what it is. And Andrew knows football. Andrew and knows the movers and shakers. He's been doing this a long time. Got a lot of respect for Andrew Siciliano. When he mentions Matt Burke, I like what he says about Matt Burke. There's a lot of things there to say that you like. Now, I think that some people are going to wince because he's not an offensive guy. I think a lot of people want an offensive guy. Also, when we talk about the systems that they run, a good coach is a good coach. I don't want to be just so beholden to a system. I think that when this station first started, there was a lot of things about guys running their systems and what type of guys that they have. But if you want to have a seamless transition and maybe a guy that Jim Schwartz will still work for, maybe Matt Burke is that guy, Tone. I don't know how. I just don't know how important system is to me. I'm sorry, if I had a head coaching candidate, like I'll use Matt Burke as the example. If Burke comes in and you were to say, all right, what are you going to do with all these guys? And he goes, well, I got to get rid of some of these guys. They're not ready. It was like, well, I just traded for Tyson Campbell to be in this system. So you can't work with this system? Like, well, I'm not just going to try. It's one thing to get talent. I got to put talent in the best place possible. So I can't just change for you.
Yeah, and I said...
I can't do it. I don't think Buddy Ryan would do it.
I said I'd be open to just about anything because I understood the Browns' job is not considered at the top of the hierarchy for all these jobs. I think there's 8 open now after Harbaugh takes that. Yeah. So we all got to be open-minded, and I'm doing my best. I think old Lima, Kenny, would have been railing on all these no-namers, and now I'm like, well...
I think that's the whole cycle is a bunch of no-namers,
yeah,
guys. Like,
and some of these guys are going to end up being good. Like, they're not all going to be bad. We're not going to all be here a year from now or 2 years from now, and all the same teams are going to be looking for new head coaches.
There's no guy. Well, I'm going to get back to this conversation in a second. There's no stars. There's no stars. I mentioned to you on the phone, I don't know about, I can't listen to all 5 hours of the afternoon drive, and I can't listen to all 4 hours of Baskin and Phelps and 4 hours of Jake Volnick, right? Has Deion Sanders been brought up on any of those shows? Because he hasn't been brought up on this show at all. At all. It's never happened. Not by a caller, not by us.
I think if they would have had a good year in Boulder,
but
that would have been the case.
Kurt Signetti has been said in passing is kind of like, but nobody is taking that seriously.
Nobody thinks he would leave.
John Harbaugh was the only star. He made his decision rather quickly, and I agree with what Jonathan said yesterday. Is where, okay, now we can get back to reality here and get moving on. There's no stars. There are no stars. No slam dunk guys. Mike Tomlin didn't come in here. Mike McDaniels, I think he's a pretty fun personality, but he is not a star. So now we have to go to these quote unquote no-namers. This is what it is. So there's been years where you remember Chip Kelly. He basically got wined and dined and wanted some free dinner and then didn't come here. That was a rough day. A rough day to be told how bad your job is by a guy who was that coveted on this football team. The Joe Banner wanting to go after Jim Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh not giving you the time of day. Kyle Shanahan and the PowerPoint presentation and get out of here as an offensive coordinator. Like those are old memories that hurt. These are guys that, hey, like this job isn't the best job. I've argued with you about that. Or this job isn't top 3, but this job does have its perks. Money is one of them. I think that defense is another one of them. I think eventually we'll be able to get out from some of the other ones. And I don't think that they really want to move on from anybody very quickly. And they proved that with Kevin over 6 years. So as long as you're not a personal disaster and you can't organize anything, like it's not going to be Freddie.
Well, so there's essentially 2 camps here. If we're talking about, a defensive guy, it's well, why would we want to mess with Jim Schwartz? Jim Schwartz has been the architect of over the last 2 years, one of the best defenses in the entire league. And they've been also authoring up like the most dominating defensive games. Like we're talking about numbers. He's had just some of the craziest dominant games in the NFL. Like teams put together drives, not against the Browns. Like some of these teams, these games were over. Remember that Raiders game, Cincinnati early on. Obviously, what you saw at the end of the year, the last 2 games, where I thought those wins were the defense. They were more than anything else. They were the dominant defense that gave you those wins, despite how bad the offense was during most of those games. So why would you want to mess with that? The other camp is, couldn't anybody be a defensive coordinator with Myles Garrett running the show? And with
I don't know.
Joe Woods
didn't do a great job.
But don't you think Myles is a way better player than he was back then?
But how much of that has been Jim Schwartz finally freeing him up to do what he's good at?
That's the debate.
Because I think that there has been, and you remember this, and I didn't like it. There were coaches when he first came in who he was easily the number 1 pick. Let's not say things that weren't true, but there were definitely guys out there who wondered if he was more of a one-trick pony and just that much of an athletic beast that he could do things as a one-trick pony. He is anything but that now, and I think that this season, if you didn't believe that 3 years ago, this season really proved it here. So I think that, I wonder how much trust was there with some of the other defensive coordinators. Maybe Joe Woods would be like, okay, but he wasn't willing to do what he's willing to do with Jim when he was with me. I don't know that. But I think that Jim has freed him up and has made the defense have fun playing defense, clearly. And sometimes to their own detriment because there's celebrations in games that they lose. But if you're saying system or you're saying side of the ball that's important, I think it's, again, just how you – there's always going to be disagreements. These are proud men. They're strong-willed. These are football coaches, for crying out loud. But there should be no taking over of power, things like that. I think a guy like Matt Burke and hearing a little bit about him, yeah. But you know what? I'll say the same thing about Grant Yudinsky. I'll say the same thing maybe about Nate Shieldhouse. I'll say the same. Like, there's so many things about these guys because there are no stars. And a lot of these guys are rather young. There's not a great big track record. And the one guy that's out there that has a track record, people aren't really excited about. That's Mike McDaniel. They're really not. Like Jim Schwartz, I know it went straight to hell after the playoffs when he was in Detroit as a head coach. People will point to that. He did take over an 0-16 team and got him to the playoffs in 2 years. It went straight to hell. But I think that for a lot of fans, that's ancient history. He did a great job with Philadelphia. He's done a great job here as the defensive coordinator. I think they'd be more open to him than Mike McDaniel. So now it's just based on, all right, which way do you want to bet? That's why I think that Yudinsky is such a big name, because it's going, hey, if we're not going to have any of these quote-unquote stars, and this guy can grow into the position, because there's definitely, at 30 years old, there's definitely going to be some growing pains there.
But so
maybe you
funny?
give him the job because of that.
I know there was a study that was put out by our analytics buddy, Cleve TA, about all the retread coaches that didn't do well. If they didn't do well in their first run, they almost never do well in their second run. So that's one of the reasons why, we don't have fans every day talking about, Brian Flores. We just don't. Jim Schwartz is the one retread that, had his ups and downs in Detroit, but in the end failed. Like 99% of coaches end up failing. If they get long enough leash, they end up failing and they get fired. Well, Schwartz is being brought up because we've seen him. We've seen his demeanor. There have been press conferences each and every week. Fans have gotten to know him and his tendencies more than even Stefanski, like as a leader. It is always interesting to me how fans like I joked about, we'll see the YouTube clip of a 1.5-minute either press conference or interview setting, and they're like, oh, my God, a window into the mind of this up-and-coming genius. And it's like, well, they haven't had a chance to make mistakes yet that we know of. Like, they make mistakes. I'm sure their head coach is like, I didn't like that game plan this week from you. But we don't get to see it. We don't know about it. So we think, what? Clean slate. So we are more open-minded to the guy that's never done it because we haven't seen the faults yet.
We haven't seen him fail. We haven't seen him fail yet. We haven't seen him in real time make those decisions. You know, the play calling thing. I think play calling is overrated because I think that you can only do so much with your players. I think you can get better results out of certain players, but you're not going to turn third-round quarterbacks for the most part into great quarterbacks. You're not going to do that with wide receivers as well. Sometimes they are what they are. I just listened to, this is why I got so cross with Bubba Ventrone. It's like, I don't want to hear you blaming rosters. I don't want to hear you blaming that. The Jets beat you. They got a bad back end of the roster. The Titans beat you with special teams. They got a bad back end. Like, I listen to those things. Those things are important. I want to hear organization. I want to hear about the plans and those things. Play calling is part of what you go through as an offensive guy. And I think that it is important to the fans because it's somewhere I can hold you accountable.
By the way, Stefanski's play calling was 2020 was lauded. Oh my God, this is a fresh breath of air.
It's something I can hold you accountable for.
Teams were copying the Browns and the stuff he was doing.
With the other things that go in there, it's like, well, I'm just going to go on hearsay, and I'm not privy to the interview, so we don't really know. So there's a lot of faith that has to be taken in whoever they hire. If they don't call plays, there's a lot of faith in whoever they hire on a team that not a lot of people have faith in. Coming up at 8:20 this morning, the dangerous one, Daryl Ryder. Is this job looking better or worse as time goes on? Is it as simple as who do you want? Is it as simple for me to ask you as who do you want? There's no John Harbaugh there anymore. I don't know if you're pulling anybody else out of thin air. And anytime I mention McDaniel, Yadinsky, Schwartz, I'll throw Burke into the lot now, Shieldhouse, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Who and why? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima on The Fan.
Tired of waking up exhausted?
just want to make sure I'm being fair to this team. I'll tell you that team coming up here momentarily. Also about last night coming up at 7:45. You can always listen to the show and all of our local shows on The Fan on free Apple Podcasts, on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, or take The Fan wherever you go. Listen to us on the free Odyssey app, iHeartRadio, or the TuneIn apps. They're absolutely wonderful. You can listen to this show. Listen to Lima and I almost come to blows at 6:20 this morning.
Well, you were
going to hit me. I was thinking about hitting you.
We were both wounded after yesterday, both of us getting launched off the mechanical bull at the CSU game.
I swear to you, guys, I rode a mechanical bull for the first time. The comments on Twitter are excellent. Which did I tell you, Dante Jones came to me, he goes, people are vicious to you. I go, what? And he goes, they're so mean. I go, this is like a couple years ago because I tagged him on something on Twitter. I go, what are you talking about? And I go, and he goes, oh my gosh, they're calling you a hog. And I go,
we have a segment.
Yeah.
Rap away in the hog.
I said, yeah, I go, Dante, like, if you want to see vicious, I'll show you vicious. I'll just pull up Lima's Twitter account. Like I was like, they're not being mean. This is the show.
But the funny thing is,
I don't have self-respect. Like,
our opinions drag out over time, right? Over years. A Deshaun Watson, a Baker Mayfield, and there's twists and turns. You have a chance to be right one day and wrong the next, but it's over time.
Yes.
Meteorologists, you guys, you should hold their feet to the fire. If they get it wrong, you should go after them that night.
I think people do, though. I think that's why they're sensitive about it. It's because they get nasty emails about it all the time. I saw Nicolas Cage, the weatherman.
Can you imagine emailing a meteorologist saying,
do it all the
you
time.
Ruined my weekend
they
with
do
your...
it all the time.
I just can't. I can't muster up that kind of energy.
I'm not going to tell you what some of the people email, some of them. But I cannot believe they noticed this, that, and the other about him. And they do. They absolutely do. But no, going back to the bull riding thing, like, yeah, there's a lot of great comments on there. And I'm like, this is the first time I ever rode a bull. I didn't realize how terrible I looked riding the bull, the mechanical bull.
There's no good way unless you're trained.
I thought I was going to hold on, and I just basically I just fall into it. Like I'm an apple falling into a bowl. Like that was it. And now, like, I'm kind of holding because for a second I really thought I ripped my jeans down the seam.
Amazing.
Not through my ass. I mean down the seam of my leg because I was holding on to my leg. I'm like, what's going on here? And I look and I got like this long, like scratch/cut thing going on down. I'm like on my left inner thigh. I have a scratch, and it's going to be needed to be taken care of. Yes, down from the gussets. Yeah, nitty-gritty inner thigh talk.
But, Kenny, I'll give you some excuses here. You didn't get first-team reps with the mechanical bull. Your support staff was terrible. They didn't get you ready for the bull. And so what were you to do? You're buried on the depth chart.
It was like Baltimore in the second half. I got thrown out there. They didn't even announce my name because I went too soon. I didn't even realize that. They announced you, and they were like, you were supposed to wait. And I go, I was getting on there and getting off as soon as I could. I didn't realize it. We had a great time at CSU last night. That's where we rode the bull. It was country western night. We had fun with the hobby horse. I did notice that the one assistant, Green Bay, Doug Gottlieb has more assistants than the Cleveland Browns. That he had, I cannot tell you how many assistants that Green Bay has for their men's basketball team. I mean, it was everybody. And they have the student section, which is right underneath the bucket. Now, the weather was obviously very difficult last night. So it was kind of an intimate setting, and you could hear a lot of things. And when they finally won, did you see the one assistant get up and start yelling at that student section?
Yes.
He was quiet the entire night, and he was a very intimidating man.
Yeah, they want to make sure they had the victory in the holster. There were some pointed comments. Hey, Doug took them in stride, right? Like
I don't think he paid, but he didn't pay attention. Like he did not give them the time of day.
There's no way he didn't hear some of the things that we were saying, you were saying.
Rob Summers gave us the time of day. He was fun.
He did.
He had fun with it, and they were up. Then he lost. But how
about this?
Hey, you're building a program. You just took over. Give him time.
So
he's a good man. And
they wanted us, obviously, like the people, our support staff. They wanted us to sit with the fans, and
we sat with the fans, all right.
But when the game started, we just kind of moseyed our way behind the CSU bench, and we picked the worst seats in the house. Why? Because Cleveland State has the tallest coach in the country, and I have to say, it has to be the tallest coach in any sport. Like I can't imagine
7 feet.
I can't imagine
Patrick Ewing isn't doing it anymore.
There's no baseball coach that's 7 feet tall.
No, he was tall. But it was an enjoyable experience for everybody. They treated us like gold. Wonderful people over there at CSU. And if you have a chance, go see the men's or women's team. It's fantastic.
Hoopy
I know
hour.
that the weather's been rough. Yeah, Hoopy Hour was great. Had a good time. There was a little bit, I think they were surprised by the imbibing that was going on by a lot of our listeners, which I tried to warn them beforehand. Speaking of basketball, I'm going to get back to the Browns here in just a second because there's some people who just want to get in on. Now that John Harbaugh is out of the question, and you're hearing a bunch of names, I think that a lot of fans just have gut feelings on who they kind of want. I'm going to get back to that here in a second. Have I been overly hard on the Cavs because of my frustration with the Browns? Like, I don't want to turn a Cavs game on a Wednesday after a Tuesday loss or something like that in January into a Browns Monday. Because Browns Mondays for the last few weeks were not really Browns Mondays because it's like, well, you know who they are, you know what they're going to be, and I'm not going to fake it. I'm not going to sit there and scream at them when I don't think they're very capable of winning at the end of the season. But I don't want to turn that into the Cavs. I've been frustrated with the Cavs, and I think part of it is that we put opinions out there, and you want to be right. I mean, you said this. There's long swaths of time where if just about every argument you make, you're going to end up being wrong because most things end poorly or they don't end at all. And I've been arguing for Evan Mobley for a long time, and I talked so much trash and ripped him like crazy Wednesday morning, and he went out and he played like Tim Duncan. And I've been disappointed because I've been waiting for him to be the unicorn that we've wanted him to be. And I think that this year, Anthony, it's going to be the time where I just have to accept he's not going to be that guy. And the whole, well, we won't trade him for anything. Well, yeah, you're probably not going to get what you would actually trade him for, so you wouldn't trade him for anything. But it's not about trading the guy or anything like that. Like, I'm hearing myself say it. I'm so massively disappointed at so many junctures of this season where it's like injuries happen, other things happen, but my God, it's just one problem after another, even after big wins.
I know that's what absolutely sucked about that game is then when Sam Merrill leaves the game, you're like, oh no, it's the hand again. And then Darius goes down, and that becomes the focal point of the ESPN studio show after the game with Brian Windhorst. Like, they went right to that highlight after this great Cavs win in which Darius was spectacular, continuing his upward play over the last really month now. The 4 weeks, he has been really, really good. And he says he's only at 75% of where he can be. Donovan Mitchell just completely annihilates and rips the heart out of that Philadelphia crowd there in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. Just goes on a scoring spree. Evan Mobley came out, hot and was efficient and had 4 blocks and filled up the box score. Even DeAndre Hunter, Lonzo Ball hit a 3. It was a miracle. We all saw it. I don't have to, act like it was mythology. It actually happened. We saw it. Gave us some good minutes. And then that happened. And you're like, are you serious? And now, Fedor in his article says could be an extended period of time. It's
okay,
like,
well then,
no.
you know what? No, I understand that. Then that's a point where we have to do it again like we tried to do it at the beginning of the season. Throw the damn ball to the block. Get Evan Mobley involved as much as you can and force him to insert. Seriously, force him to assert himself and to be the type of player that you need him to be, because this team ain't going anywhere unless Evan Mobley gets to that level. And maybe I'm just hoping for something that ain't going to happen. That's absolutely positively possible. I get all that. But they ain't going to go anywhere unless Evan Mobley becomes that type of force that you need him to be. So I got to force him to do it. So fine, do it today. I need him to be able to be that guy because I'm getting frustrated. You have a wide open path to be able to get to the Eastern Conference Finals at the beginning of the season. And you have slammed the door on yourself for so many ways. I'm getting Isaac Okoro tweets all over again. Like, this is not a very good time to be a Cavs fan. And the one saving grace, and I forget who sent it to us, and I wish I could give them credit. They're like, hey, guys, like everybody else is kind of around 500. We're kind of hitting a swoon here in the Eastern Conference.
The whole East,
yes,
yeah.
But I've been swooned all year. So I got to start to kick with this basketball team. And it's one problem after another. And I just can't keep saying injury.
But what's funny
Evan's got to step up and be that
that's
guy.
Right, that's
and
right.
be more of what he was on Wednesday night.
But for 2 months, man, it seemed like this team didn't give effort. Do they even like each other? Do they like the coach? Do they just seem miserable? They don't get back on defense. They're letting no-namers push them around and beat them almost on a nightly basis. A lot of that has kind of stopped with the exception of the Utah game, which is just inexplicable. But they have had now a bunch of really good outcomes and, if not wins, really competitive games against all the good teams. So they've shown that they can play with anybody over the. So they've answered that question, because earlier in the season I'm like, are we just going to be bad all year? Well, no. I mean, obviously their record is their record, and they're underdogs tonight. Actually, Vegas has given them a better shot tonight than I thought, because they blew out Philly. I thought Philly is going to give a much different effort tonight. And they're probably going to hit some shots, and you don't have Darius, you don't have Merrill, so where are we going to get the scoring from?
It's going to be hard. Is Joel Embiid going to play tonight? It's not a back-to-back, so I would expect Joel Embiid to play tonight. It is
at home. I didn't say anything official.
So if you have, this is where I'm at. If you lose, I don't know how angry I'm going to be. If you lose and Evan Mobley plays well, I don't think I'm going to be angry. And that is a low bar. But I got to use this season for what it is. The season was supposed to be a tune-up for the postseason, and I'm not seeing anything that tells us that we're eventually going to be able to tune ourselves up and get ready for the postseason. If Evan goes out there and plays the way that they drafted him to be, then maybe we'll get some positivity out of this. Because if Donovan or Darius is going to be out for any extended period of time, sorry, you have to go back to what you were before. You got to do it. 216-474-0092. Ken in Bedford, you're next up on the Fan.
Morning, gentlemen. How you doing?
We're doing well, Ken. Go ahead.
I think it's time to stop trying to make Evan Mobley this unicorn. If he just was a great paint guy, along with Jarrett and DeAndre Hunter, I look at the old Cavs with Hot Rod, Larry Nance, and Brad Daugherty. None of those guys shot threes, but the paint was protected. We had great guard play. Quit pulling this guy out to the three-point line to have him shoot. Just have him be in the paint. Let him be an 18, 9, and 3-block guy along with Jarrett, and I think we got something.
Real quick, Ken, what did you mention about DeAndre Hunter?
He could be like what Hot Rod was to Larry Nance and Brad Daugherty.
Okay.
You keep those guys on the front line, and that's locked down. Now you just got to make sure your guards stay healthy.
You might have. Ken, you might be forcing me to see the truth, and I don't want to see the truth. And I thank you for the call, because I can't disagree with you, because I might have to just see what Evan is. I'm holding on to something that probably isn't true anymore, and you hear how I'm saying it, because I know that they can't get to where they need to go unless he becomes that guy. It's just not going to happen. About DeAndre Hunter, I could say that I think that DeAndre Hunter is probably going to be a trade commodity here in the next month. Anthony, he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be here.
That was a report that was out there that they've debunked
the
part
game
of the
in
report.
December. It looked like he didn't want to be here.
I know, but that's stuff. If he gets back into his shooting form and has a decent, stretch, and maybe that last game could be part of it. You never know.
I think we've already emotionally moved on to Jalen Tyson, guys.
He's been awesome. And look, I don't know what the deal is with Max Strus, but it's like, man, I almost don't want to see anything that would limit the playing time for Tyson, because right now the only bad that you're getting with Tyson is a little over exuberant, gets beat back door, doesn't have that veteran savvy yet, but he does everything else defensively. That guy, and there's some numbers one-on-one that were pretty eye-opening that I saw over the course of the last week, that he holds his own against a lot of different types of players.
Who's this?
Tyson.
He's been better than I thought he was going to be. I think he's been outstanding, and I think he's been the type of dog that you want on this basketball team that we've been hungry for so long. I really like Jalen Tyson, and personally, I have emotionally moved on to him. But going back to Evan on it, I might have to admit that he's not going to be that unicorn that we need him to be. And if he's not that unicorn, why it's so hard for me to admit that is because I then don't think that they have a chance to go to the NBA Finals if he doesn't become that guy.
That's
a tough thing to admit in January in his fifth year.
Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, I just saw, and the way they moved the ball, and they were an assist machine in that game. It was unbelievable how great that ball was zipping along. That playing like that before the injury, Like, man, that's a team that could come out of the East.
What name do you want right now for the Browns? Top of your head. Go.
Schwartz.
Boy, that sounded convincing. I got to bring that up at 8 o'clock. About last night where, in the words of Paul Dolan, enjoy him. It's coming up in 5 on The Fan. Peter & Company Jewelers in Avon Lake. Peter.
obviously, that Stephen Vogt talked to the media via Zoom. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's not bad for him talking to the media. I take that, but what it is, what it is.
Yeah, I guess there was supposed to be some Guardians event that was supposed to happen last night. It got canceled because of the snow. Stephen Vogt talked to everyone via Zoom. But where I was going with Major League Baseball was Kyle Tucker and his monster contract with the Dodgers. According to Jeff Passan, it's 4 years, $240 million guaranteed with opt-outs after years 2 and 3. So it's a lot of money with the option of saying, okay, if you want to, after a year, if you're done, you can go make money elsewhere and we'll still owe you almost $250 million. And I saw this and my first thought was, are the Dodgers trying to build up a super team, or are they just trying to bring in players so other teams can't have?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think that's the same thing. You're trying to build up a super team, so it's both things. I also think that I think there's such a thing as collusion in professional sports. I think we've seen it with all three of the ones that we talk about when it comes to owners. Now, this is a very strong thing to accuse, but I think that the owners do want a salary cap. The Dodgers have the type of wherewithal to do that. I think they're good business partners with their other teams. I didn't think George Steinbrenner was that way. I think that the Dodgers would be, and this is glaring. This is a collision course with a work stoppage coming up next year. To see what the Dodgers have been able to add. 4 years, $240 is silly. And you can't turn it down if you're Kyle Tucker. You can't turn that down if you're any player. So you have to do what you have to do. And I think that the Dodgers are like, yeah, we're going to do it until we come together on a cap and floor and try to do this the right way. I'm getting ready. And everybody has said the players will never, ever, ever. They'll fight it until the bitter end. It's going to get real bitter. It's going to get real bitter. I don't know if there's going to be a 2027 season.
Think about it. There's going to be a work stoppage. We are careening towards that. We just got done with the World Series where the conventional wisdom or what everybody was saying was, oh, my God, baseball is exploding in growth. Look at the ratings. And during that time, I'm like, are we sure this is going to have this cascading effect that everybody thinks it is? Like, this was awesome. I watched the World Series. I thought it was great. I think postseason baseball is amazing. But we're just going to get right back to where we always are, watching your own team, nobody else, unless your team's out of it. And then you'll just kind of parachute in to the last 3 weeks of the season, which is what the NCAA tournament is.
Yep. It's true.
That's not healthy for baseball.
But at least you're watching your own team. Not a lot of people are watching their own teams when it comes to the NCAA tournament or before the NCAA tournament.
And I laugh because, this is nothing new with the disparity. It's just growing. But, man, the offseason. Who follows the baseball offseason? Nobody I know.
Oh, excuse me. Nobody you know. Nobody in a city that's not New York or Los Angeles.
Right. There's like 4
Chicago.
markets. There's like 4 markets. And so you've crushed your own sport in that regard. And what are the Guardians' payroll this year? Because I think they're getting ready for the work stoppage too. What's it going to be? $60 million?
Not that much.
The NFL, what they've done, and I think that this is part of the reason why we talk so much NFL, is they've made it a 12-month sport. And for a lot of teams, like how many of us, there were plenty of people, like we had these fights about tanking and things like that. This is something we can all agree on. How many of you guys out there have been looking forward to the 2026 draft since mid-October? Mm-hmm. So you pay attention to these things.
But you're not going to do that in baseball.
And you don't do that in baseball. It's a 7-month sport, and then it comes to an abrupt end for 90% of the fan bases.
Well, and a lot of the stuff that happens with Major League Baseball isn't as immediately impactful, right? So the Guardians draft Travis Bazzana, which was really exciting, but we were looking at him, and he'll probably come up this year. But he was drafted in 2024. So your first round draft pick, your number 1 overall draft pick for your baseball team, isn't even going to see the playing field for your major league club for minimum 2 years, as opposed to the NFL.
NFL and NBA, you get guys immediately.
Yeah,
it's
your
awesome.
Rookies come in on and make an immediate impact.
And so you have the same conversations that we've been having for years, and it flatly needs to be fixed for the good of the game. I think the NBA is a 12-month conversation. I think the NFL is a 12-month conversation. Baseball needs to find a way to get there, and that would be the way to get there. But you're going to maybe have 12 months off.
When the station launched, we sent reporters to the winter meetings. We're never doing that again. Like, why?
All right, so I have a question for you guys.
Nobody to sign. How could you go? Go ahead, Meredith.
We're gonna move on. I do think it's an interesting topic, but I do want to move on. I got a slight football question that I thought was funny. Do you think that J.J. Watt is a bitter old man? Because so here's what I saw. So he it was from Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So it started with something that Pony tweeted. So he posted a clip of an Athletic article from Mike DeFabo reporting on Mike Tomlin's exit from the Steelers, and reported that Aaron Rodgers was sobbing and saying, "I'm sorry" to Mike Tomlin, and Pony was very complimentary of the reporting, and he thought it was interesting at Rodgers' reaction to Tomlin leaving. And then J.J. Watt quote tweets it and says, "Feels like this moment could have stayed in the locker room."
It was a little odd, but there were other players who, not just Rodgers, who had said it. I really do think there you have something that's changed here where, quote, "There's always noise, but I felt like it was getting to the point it was getting bleeping ridiculous," an offensive player said. "I felt bad for him. I started thinking, if that was me, how long would I want to put up with that? Every time we lost, it felt like the sky was falling. He took it all for us." So these are players who want it out there that they are not happy with the media, or the media loves Mike Tomlin. We're media members. We're fans of Mike Tomlin.
It was mostly the fans that were demanding he quit or get fired.
They wanted. I think these guys want it out there that they're mad at the fans for forcing the hand of Mike Tomlin out.
Yeah, because look, while every player says they play for Super Bowls every year, they want to win Super Bowls, they also recognize that so few get to actually do it. So the fact that they win more games than they lose, that to them is they, they'll also probably say like the playoffs are kind of a crapshoot in some regard. Like, you never really can control your own destiny. You play as good as you can as an individual, but it's such a team thing. That doesn't shock me that those players are like, we win more than we lose. What's wrong with that? When media and fans, like, we're always centrally focused on, in our lifetime, winning the Super Bowl. Those players know they're going to end up on different teams. They're going to retire while fans and media are still chasing the same thing.
I think it's a different perspective. I think it's a different perspective than that, and just as deep. I think they see how difficult it is to win games. It's so easy to lose them, and they're going, "Man, we're good every year. We're not as good as you want us to be." And I think they see what goes on else around the league, and the crazy situation that happened in Miami, the crazy situations we're always in.
The Jets.
I think they want to be understood a little bit more, but this is so much of it is the business that they're in. And I think it's a little bit weird because Steeler fans are mad at the media and mad at everybody else because it's almost like we're pulling against them. Like everything's this big warning, like you just wait. And yeah, you just wait. If they hire the wrong guy, it'll be a disaster, but the guy's going to get a lot of time.
Well, I thought Pony had a great comparison when he was on the show earlier this week where he compared the Steelers fans to Guardians fans because the Guardians have been a winning team
and now that's not good enough.
Yeah, it's not good enough, and Guardians fans are frustrated.
Fans are starting to go act like that with the Cavs, and I'm just like, I get it. I've been just as critical as all our fans are on these situations with the Guardians and the Cavs, but then I also look at other teams in those sports that are doomed, have no chance to ever have success. I just counted in the NBA, I counted 17 fan bases that are miserable right now, that are hopeless, and I didn't put us as one of them because I'm like, we have hope.
No, we're not. We're not
Mitchell.
hopeless.
We have hope. We have Evan Mobley. We've got good young talented guys.
We're frustrated, but we're not hopeless.
But that's over 50% of the league has no shot at anything, and the NFL and now baseball with the disparity. So it's like when you do win more than you lose.
Kind of want to do this now.
You do kind of have to have some perspective. Like, hey, things could be so much worse. I know that's considered a losing mentality, but can you imagine if we were those 17 teams in the NBA? We just would never talk NBA here. And if we were some of those bad teams in baseball, if we were the Pirates, we would just never talk baseball. So I kind of feel like
down now.
I kind of feel like you should also not take that for granted, and I think we do. And I'm one of them. I'm just as guilty of it when I'm mad about losses and stuff. I'm just as guilty, but we should sometimes take a step back and be like, there's so many situations where their sport seems doomed.
I got to tell you, because of the way baseball is, just the way the sport is, there's very few. I'm like, yeah, you don't have any hope at all. Like the A's don't have a fan base anymore. So I'll throw them in there. But the Angels,
We'll add it up. Yeah, let's over the break. We can add it up.
Do I throw the Marlins in there? Because I know they won 2 championships. Okay, go. We'll do it during the break. I'll do it during the break.
And you've got Pirates fans that are demanding that Paul Skeens get traded because they think he deserves better than what he's getting with the Pirates.
Well, if you feel that way, that is a very broken fan base. That is something there that something has clicked in your head and is never coming back. So I can't speak to that.
We need to. Help
I've dealt with that with some Browns fans.
We need to help the city of Pittsburgh.
I've dealt with that.
Do we have time for one more?
Nah.
All right.
We gotta get the hell out of here.
All right, that's it for About Last Night.
Coming up at 8:20 this morning, the dangerous one, Daryl Ryder. Coming up in 5 minutes, Schwartz? ? Anthony Lima. What a search we got going on the Fan.
Real estate market is something you've got.
20 minutes away. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN 920, coming in hot 9:45. A lot to get to, not a lot of time. I asked Lima at 7:36 this morning. Lima, who do you want? Survey said, what name do you want right now for the Browns? Top of your head. Go.
Schwartz.
Boy, that sounded convincing. Anthony Lima had a full-throated endorsement for Jim Schwartz. Is this where we're at now?
Who was your guy?
Did you want John Harbaugh? Well, I said the most realistic is Jim Schwartz. I've warmed up to Yadinsky. I'm about ready to just pull the knob off this thing and let's get going.
You're off the McDaniel train.
You know what? I was never on the McDaniel train. I predict that it'll be McDaniel. But you know what? If none of them are going to be stars, okay? Do I want to say this? Yeah, hell yeah, I want to say it. If none of them are going to be stars, if none of them are stars, if John Harbaugh wasn't going to give us the time of day, if you wanted to be an offensive guy, I don't give a damn about play calling. I don't give a damn about some of these other things. You know what? Just hire Yadinsky then. I'm a Yadinsky guy now.
Wow.
Welcome to it. I thought Schwartz would be the most palatable one, the one that would come with the least. But I'm getting 50-50 on everybody. I think Yadinsky, I think there's some people who are very passionate about him. I think there's some people who are passionately against him because I think they got Browns memories stuck in their head. And, hey, you know what? Yeah, the Browns have got it blamed right on themselves, so they'd have to deal with it if they were to hire Yadinsky. I think I might be Team Yadinsky right now as of 8:04 this morning. Because if they're not going to be big stars coming in, and the only guy that was out there that is a star was John Harbaugh, Marcus Freeman ain't walking through that door. Kurt Cignetti is not walking through that door. Ryan Day ain't walking through that door. We ain't talked about any of them. If there ain't any other wonderkins or great big names, then fine. Might as well go with the guy who has the highest upside, have we not? I don't want to throw another name in there because if I make the comparison, it will immediately sour some people towards Yadinsky. But it just seems to be this wild, high ceiling type of name that I can't stop thinking about. He's exciting. And because we don't know that much about the guy, he's exciting. Peter Schrager, ESPN, had this to say about it on his show.
They hired a 30-year-old who I believe had just called plays for the first time in his career for a Redskins team that did not have a ton of success. And they took a massive swing. And you think 9 years ago, they hired a 30-year-old with no head coaching experience at any level, who had just called one season of plays for like a mediocre offense and had just lost and didn't even make the playoffs. And they announced that as their hire. It's one of the biggest swings in coaching hiring history. I really do think so, because look at what he's done. McVay is now considered one of the greatest coaches of all time, and I don't think anyone would argue that. Say all that, we have 8 openings. I want to know who's going to take the swing.
The next McVay is who? Now, this guy's never called plays. I don't give a damn. Because it's always the first thing you want to take away from a guy when he calls plays. I would say if you did hire Yadinsky, I think you should have a play caller in here. I don't know if that's Tommy Rees. I'm not sure. I don't know if you want to make a guy head coach and go, oh, yeah, you're going to call plays as well. I care about organization. I care about the other things that are there. That really, and this is what makes it so crazy, is I can't guarantee any of it. I'd only heard his name a couple of times a couple of years ago, and then it was like, hey, in a decade, this guy's going to be something. Here we are 2 years later.
I was telling you yesterday that, do you remember, 2019, I know that there was a big thing called COVID, that divided us from 2019.
Yeah.
But 2019 was not that long ago, right? It was not that long ago. Do you know he got his first coaching job in 2019?
I understand that.
So it just puts into perspective how quick this ascension is, but not so quick that he's already gotten to call plays.
But the guys he was coaching were in high school.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So he's never called the plays. So that's the difference here between, I know everybody keeps bringing up Sean McVay, is that McVay had been an OC and had called plays for multiple years. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3 years, but he had that elevated responsibility. This guy hasn't. He has not had that responsibility. So he hasn't had the proof of concept of leadership role and the actual responsibility of calling the plays. So we have nothing. We have no way.
Is it because of that you don't want him?
I didn't say I didn't want him because I am open. I told you I'd be open to everything. We probably would have totally ripped if we were in Pittsburgh when they hired Mike Tomlin. We would have totally ripped, even the McVay hire. Certainly, we would have been like, are we sure about this? So there are plenty of guys that haven't done stuff. That's not a disqualifier, but it also is part of, the reality that he's going to make all his mistakes on the job. The benefit of Tomlin was he won instantly. McVay won instantly. So people that diffused any of the heat that they would be getting. My question is he going to get that buy-in and win instantly? Does he have the chance to do it? Schedule-wise, you would say, yes, they have one of the easiest schedules in the league
instantly,
next year.
The buy-in from who? Who's buying in?
The players. Because obviously when McVay goes 11-5 in his first year and then 13-3 the second year, done, buy-in. Nobody's questioning him as head coach. Mike Tomlin, first year, win instantly, boom, buy-in. Nobody's questioning. But if this guy gets off to a 1-5 start,
he's got to. If he doesn't call plays, he's got to have leadership qualities. So I'd imagine he has some leadership qualities.
That's what they say that he has, yeah.
But
he's never actually had the responsibility.
Obviously, but I've told you before about leader in men. Now, it's one thing to try to be a leader in men as an assistant coach, and it's different to be as a head coach. I understand all that as well. But I would have a very brief message for any player out there that does it. Like for veterans, like, hey guys, this is your last chance. This is the last coach we intend to hire with Myles Garrett. So I don't know. What are you going to do? You going to walk around? You going to ask for another trade now that we really can't trade you? Okay, fine. You guys going to pout over the 30-year-old? Or are you guys going to go out there and try to be professionals about it? Which one are you going to do? It's up to you. And it's going to be up to you no matter what. I can make Jim Schwartz the head coach. He can come in as a head coach and yell and scream. And if they want to sit there and complain, well, it's different now because he's the head coach. No, that's on you. It's their team. It's the player. It's always the player's team. From damn Mighty Mites to the NFL, it's the player's team. You can put them in the best position possible. It's their team. There are no demigods anymore. That day is done. That's why Brian Kelly's on his ass. He's not on his ass. He's a very wealthy man, but you get what I'm saying. So you have to be in a partnership here, and the players have to lead from within. And nobody's playing for any one triumphant head coach, one legendary name anymore. That stuff is done. Like, there's guys who are big names. Who's the next legend? Who is it? Like, Cignetti's a great story. Cignetti, the first guy to tell you, my players. It's always the players. Marcus Freeman's beloved right now at Notre Dame. They want to keep him. He's always saying players, players, players. It's a partnership. That's the way it is. Nick Saban's gone. He ain't coming back. Woody Hayes is dead. Bear Bryant is dead. They're all gone. This is a different era. And so you got to be willing to, if you're a player right now, and I don't know why anybody would still be in town listening to this, but if you're Grant Delpit or somebody, I'm just using an example. I'm sure Grant would get on board, whatever. But if you're one of these players and you're going, I can't believe we're for a 30-year-old guy, then just go. Just go. Because I tell you what, I don't want, what, am I going to only win 4 games this year? Am I only going to win 4 games? Oh, maybe I'm going to win 3 games this coming year. Hey, man. It's your football team. That's been the problem the entire time.
Is this a better option than, say, trading for? We had one coach from Green Bay yesterday, but
trading for Matt
LaFleur.
I need players. I gave up 3 years of first-round picks. I'm not trading for a coach.
How many draft picks do we have? We have tons of draft picks.
We got tons of other draft picks, but I'm not trading a first-round pick. I needed first-round picks. It's half the reason I'm in this argument right now is because we didn't have first-round picks.
You gave me 1,000 maybes, what ifs, who knows with Udinski. Matt LaFleur, we know he wins. I mean, he has won a boatload of games.
He gets you to the playoffs.
He's 76-40. It's one of the highest winning percentages in NFL history.
He'll get you to the playoffs. But I have one less first-round pick for him to work with as far as talent is concerned on a team that needs talent desperately.
It's very interesting to hear, and we're just talking in theory, and I love this because it forces us to kind of talk about the true value of coaches. Like in the NBA, let's be honest. I mean, you can win a championship one year, you're out the next year in the NBA. Like, it just doesn't really matter. Ty Lue, we all think he's a good coach, but he's had terrible years. Like, they have another coach and they can win just as many games. We do that all the time. NFL, there is a big-time value, but it's interesting that you think one more player is more valuable to an entire organization. That's not a quarterback, by the way. You're not even saying trade the pick that you would use to get the quarterback. You're saying random one offensive lineman, random one receiver.
If I didn't give up 3 years of first rounders before, the Broncos didn't give up 3 years of first rounders before Sean Payton.
Sure, but that's the thing. Denver, their talent pool was considered a mess, and their organization was considered a mess. Sean Payton was way more valuable than one player, two players, three players. But that's Sean Payton. Mike Vrabel took over a mess in New England, but he's clearly more valuable than one-off player. Look at what he has totally transformed. Now, if you don't think Matt LaFleur is that guy, that's fine.
First round pick, I don't think he's that guy.
Okay.
I think he's a fine coach. I don't think he's worth giving up a first round pick because it's not just a one-off player. If I take a guy in the first round, no matter who it is, I intend to make an investment out of that guy. Now, obviously, there's a difference in the investment in the top 5 than it would be the back 10. I get that too. But damn it, you're taking a guy in the first round. You want to make sure that you get the 5th year out of that guy so you can have control. There's an investment that's made there. And we haven't had first round picks for 3 years, save this last year. I got to get talent back on this football team. We're not going to have a quarterback draft this year, so now I got to find who's going to be my offensive lineman. Is it going to be C.C. Mauanoa? Where am I going to put that kid in? What am I going to do with my back-end first-round pick? Because I don't know if there's anybody. Is there going to be anybody willing to move up for my back-end first-round pick? Maybe I can get another one next year. I need talent on this team. And I think it's
also need a coach.
And once I get done talking to Grant Udinsky and some of these other guys, maybe none of them are going to be remarkable. And if that were the way, then maybe I would kick that around. But I at least want to see what's going on before we do all these other ones. 216-474-0092. Coming up next, we'll see if Daryl agrees with you. Is the job looking better or worse as time goes on? And am I just getting a little bit crazy about Udinsky because I'm thinking, man, there's not any big star, any big name. If there's no any big star, any big name, who's got the highest ceiling? We'll ask Daryl about that coming up at 8:20 on The Fan.
It's Anthony Lima for Fanatics.
momentarily. Lima, you got some audio you want people to hear. Go ahead.
Yeah, because when Harbaugh was hired as the Giants coach, there were a ton of reports that, Todd Monken, who had interviewed with the Browns and was on their radar, Todd Monken will be the offensive coordinator. And Peter Schrager says, not so fast in the Bill Simmons podcast.
But Mike Kafka, who was the interim coach and the offensive coordinator last year, like, I got it from pretty good people. Like, he's still in the mix as an offensive coordinator for the Giants. That the rare, like, all right, so I was offensive coordinator, new head coach, and I was the interim head coach, but I still might be the OC because Dart actually showed a lot of flashes with him. Everyone in the morning was like, Todd Monken's going to be his offensive coordinator. Well, Todd Monken is interviewing for the Cleveland job on Tuesday, I believe, for the second time, and might be the Cleveland Browns head coach. So slow down with putting in who's going to be the coordinators, but these hires.
Whoa! Well, wow. Bring on the dangerous one, Daryl Ryder. Kayla, who is Daryl brought to us by?
Shador Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Morning, Daryl.
Hello, boys.
It's good to see you. Good to hear you. We can see on YouTube Live a second interview from Todd Monken on Tuesday. Go.
Well, that's the second interview that we know of. They're supposed to talk to Jesse Minter, I think, today. I just want him to pick a coach at this point.
Well, it's still very early.
I really am. I know. I'm already worn out by this.
Only one coach has been picked,
I know.
And we haven't even talked to the guys that are on, in person. We haven't talked to the guys that are on the team still playing.
Yeah.
So this thing could drag out another 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, that Monken is the first to get a second interview because that just doesn't seem to fit where I think that they're ultimately leaning, and that is one of these young, unproven, up-and-coming, thought to be the next Mike McVay or Sean McVay, type of coach. And, those are the Nate Scheelhouses, the Grant Udinskis, the Dan Pitchers of the world. It just feels like that's where this whole thing is going to head. So the fact that Monken is the first to get a second interview, that's quite interesting.
Why do you think that is? Because it's always been, well, we want to keep Jim. We got to keep Jim. Is there something there where Jim would like to work with a more experienced guy? Is there something there where maybe Jim can be? I'm sure he can be a demanding person. So is there something there where maybe they're afraid if they want to hold on to Jim so badly, which I'm saying if you don't want to hold on to him so badly and you're afraid there's going to be power struggles, just make him the damn head coach, but to hell with it. Are they afraid he might run over one of these 30-year-olds?
Yeah, I think that's a fair question. The other thing, too, is Todd Monken's still under contract with the Baltimore Ravens. So if John Harbaugh would want him to go to the Giants, there's some work that needs to be done there. Just like Jim Schwartz is still under contract with the Cleveland Browns. And right now, the only way you are getting a change is if the team lets them go or they're hired to be head coaches. And it's a promotion, or I guess you got to kind of do what the Browns did a couple years ago with Bubba Ventrone and make him not only a coordinator but the assistant head coach, give him a fancier title or whatever. But, I don't know if I'm as crazy about Todd Monken being the head coach. I was fine with them interviewing him, but I don't know if he is,
Why is that? Why is that, Daryl? Daryl, you don't seem to be really excited.
He's never done it before. And I know none of these kids have done it before, but like I said, I kind of feel like they want to find, the up and coming genius in the league, so they can kind of say, hey, we found this guy. No one else really wanted to talk to them, which isn't true with some of these young kids. But yeah, I don't know about.
You don't seem to be really really passionate about anybody. We're talking about the head coach here.
I'm not, Ken. I'm not.
Why aren't you passionate about anybody? You can't get behind any of them? There's nothing you can get behind?
No, I can't.
Why not? Why? Why is that?
Because they're all unproven. And here's the other reason. They're not going anywhere. Like, this team's not going to be good next year, this coming season. They have no quarterback, no offensive line, no wide receivers. They got to rebuild the offense from the ground up, all right? And with all due respect to Jimmy Haslam, giving his heartfelt speech about we're not tolerating losing here anymore, I got news for you. You're going to do a lot more losing before you start winning again. And I feel like they were better off keeping Kevin and keeping the status quo for just one more year. And then you make the change when
you believe
wanna,
that? Were you
What's
saying
that?
that after some of those terrible, embarrassing losses in December, early December, late November? You really believe that, Daryl?
Well, now that I'm looking at the field that they're looking at, now I do, yeah. Like, you really think that they're going to be better with Adam Dirty?
So
you think they're going to be better with Dan Pitcher?
Hold on.
You think they're going to be better with Jesse Minter?
You didn't
or
know
Grant Udinsky?
You didn't know
or Chris Shula? You think it's going to be better?
Hold on. You didn't know going in that this was going to be the crop of what we were looking at? When did I make that list, Tone? When did I make? And by the way, a lot of these guys are getting interviews at other places, not just the Browns. By the way.
No, I know.
I can go ahead. So what? Why didn't you?
I'm not going to rally around any of these guys. They're going to hire who they're going to hire.
Daryl, then why weren't you advocating then to hold on to Kevin back then?
Because honestly, I was indifferent then.
So what's the point of even having you on the air if you're not going to give me an opinion?
Well, I don't know which one of these guys, honestly, to get behind. I really don't. I mean, who am I supposed to be vouching for, Ken? Am I supposed to sell?
Well, I mean,
am I supposed to sell Adam Durden, who is the Alex Van Pelt of the Seattle Seahawks defensive staff?
You got 40,000 Browns fans listening to you right now, Daryl. They would like to hear you have an idea of who you would like. It's been a week. Give them an idea. They love the Browns. That's why they're listening to you right now. Give them a name.
I think it's going to be one of the three young guys. I've been very consistent with it, and they haven't talked to two of them yet. And that's Nate Shieldhouse, Grant Udinsky, and Dan Pitcher. I think it's going to be one of those three guys.
And who would you like?
Flip a coin. Dan Pitcher, okay, great. But Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase aren't coming with him. So, okay, all these guys know X's and O's. They all know that. But for me, the separator has to be, can you lead a football team? It's why I don't want Mike McDaniel. You had the starting quarterback in Miami last year calling teammates out for lack of discipline and not doing what they're supposed to do. I don't need that here. So McDaniel doesn't interest me. Now, if you want to make him the offensive coordinator, okay, fine. I'll listen to that. But all these guys know X's and O's. I don't think that the Browns had an X's and O's problem. I really don't. I think that they had a fit / leadership, accountability, because they did. It was interesting listening to players after the season, in the locker room talk about, well, the next guy, hopefully they, hold guys accountable and lead and all those things. And they tried to couch it by saying we're not taking shots at Kevin, but, well, that's what you're saying is what you need. But I have no idea if any of these young guys have those intangibles. I know they know the X's and O's. They wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be getting these interviews if they didn't know X's and O's. But there's just not one guy right now of these 10. Right now we have 10. 6 have interviewed, 4 are requested, and one's going to probably get done today. Maybe they'll do a second one today, but there isn't one single guy that I can honestly sit here and pound the table for and say, that's the guy. And if you promote Jim Schwartz and you keep Tommy Rees as offensive coordinator, I just sit there and say, I don't know why you just didn't keep Kevin at this point. So, I just think that this whole coaching cycle is much more difficult than I thought it was going to be, because I didn't think 9 teams would be looking for head coaches. And I got news for you. There may be a 10th team yet looking for a head coach.
Daryl Ryder joined us, our Browns beat reporter right now. So the Browns have 5 picks in the first 102, I think. Would you be interested in dealing one of those picks for Matt LaFleur, one of the best winning percentages in the history of the NFL?
Which pick though? That's important.
Oh, okay. Well, this is good.
Yeah,
I like that.
I mean, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up 6.
Nope.
I don't know that I want to give up 24.
Right. Well, so this is interesting because what I tried to sell, and look, Matt LaFleur, I've never been like, we've got to get that guy. But now, in comparison to a bunch of the guys we just went over, I'm like, maybe we need to think about this, and maybe there could also be a Malik Willis conversation as well. But with that said, yeah, Ken was dead set against trading. What is it? 24? Is that the second one?
Yeah.
So
that's the Jaguars pick for yeah.
And Kenny, you made the point. Need players, and there's no disputing what Ken said is 100% true.
They need to draft 2 wide
players.
Receivers and 2 offensive linemen this year, just like they did 2 running backs and 2 quarterbacks last year.
So,
if you can do that last year, you can do it this year.
So my question is, if you thought Matt LaFleur was a really good coach and culture guy, and certainly has the wins to kind of prove that he has been excellent as the head of that operation over there.
Right.
How valuable is he as a coach? Is he worth the 24th pick? Is that more valuable than one player who's not going to be a quarterback?
Well, the other thing too is, I mean, they're trying to do a contract extension with him, and I'd have to imagine, and I don't care about Jimmy Haslam's money; it's not mine, and I'm all for spending his. You're probably looking at a contract north of $15 million, which again, that's fine. Look, the one guy I did pound the table for is John Harbaugh, and he's with the Giants for 5 years and $100 million. But I would probably maybe be willing to give up that second round pick for him. I still think you got to keep the 2 first rounders, but the complication you have now is the 2027 draft. And does Andrew Berry trade back from 6? Does he trade back from 24 to collect a 2027 first-round pick? So he has 2 of those in his back pocket with the quarterbacks now that are expected to be available in 2027. See, that's the wrinkle to this thing too now, is what does their plan be for getting one of these young quarterbacks in 2027 if, again, going by what Jimmy Haslam said, winning 3 and 5 games is not what we're going to be doing here. Well, you're not going to have a top pick in the draft if you don't end up with 3 or 5 wins after the 2026 season. So you either have to trade your way into it or you have to lose your way into it. And I have to think that that's where their focus and attention will be, is to try and get one of these young quarterbacks in 2026 with some of these quarterback decisions and these kids going back to school that have been made recently.
Just for correction, 5 picks, 107. I just looked it up because there's added picks in some of those other rounds. So 5 picks.
That's great. I think the
107.
Browns have the best draft capital of anyone for like the 2nd straight year.
Boom. Andrew Berry doing work, Kenny.
Great. Excellent. Outstanding.
Win a lot of games with all them draft picks, don't they?
Are you on today?
Yes, I'll be in with Jeff Phelps again today.
Okay. Kayla, tell everybody.
Daryl Ryder Report is brought to you by Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
Daryl, thank you very much for the time. We'll be listening at 10.
You bet, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too, Daryl Ryder. Joining us on the hotline. Jeremy Fowler going to join us at 9:20. I got something I got to get off my chest when we come back because I think I'm the only one living in reality here. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app. K&K Heating and Cooling. It's pretty simple. I don't like being so mad on a Friday.
Yeah, what's going on, Kenny? Come on, we had so much fun yesterday at the CSU game. We're here, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed on a Friday.
I mean, we're talking 216-474-0092. I won't yell at you guys. You're not getting paid by the fan. I yelled at Daryl. I'll ask you guys. Am I the only one living in reality? Like, it's an important position. It's an important position to hire. And I'm already going, well, I don't care. Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for hopping on. It doesn't matter. And then when you say you're willing to pound the table for John Harbaugh, who wasn't willing to pound the table for John Harbaugh? So what were we doing this entire year? Was anybody paying attention except for me? Excuse me. Was anybody paying attention except for me and the fans and you? I'll give you, you know what? Was anybody paying attention except for this show? And I'll give the afternoon drive, even though I've disagreed with him many times. I'm going to address something that Nick just tweeted at me here in a second. Was anybody paying attention other than this? Did we not say this a million times over that when you fire a guy, I'm just going to start screaming into the microphone. I don't want to do that.
You had an envelope, Kenny. You had a list.
Because you have to have an effing plan when you fire somebody. You can't just say, well, he needs to be fired. That's exactly what I've been ranting and raving about. What happened just there on the phone is exactly what I've been yelling about for months. For months. For months. I didn't know it was going to happen. Just decided to move on. Oh, okay. With no plan. No plan whatsoever. Yeah, I know. Because I was thinking of Click Kubiak's dad, I accidentally wrote down Broncos. I'm sorry. On the last one. On the one before, I got it all right. I'm just holding on to the last one. I mean, the second draft was done on December 13th. Who did they play after December 13th? December 14th is when they played the Bears. I had this thing done before they went out there and walked around against the Bears in cold weather. What's the point? What's the point? I mean, you say what you want to. I know that plenty of people disagree. At least there's a damn effort. For the love of God, we're supposed to come up with ideas of who we want them to have. Or you don't make the difference, and we're a week into this, and what? Because we didn't get John Harbaugh, who wasn't going to interview here in the first place, and we all secretly knew it in the back of our heads. We were hoping, but we knew. Now it doesn't matter, and they should have just held on to Kevin. Good God.
I'm bummed because
Good God.
I didn't get to act.
Could we be any more bipolar as a media? Could we be any worse?
I didn't get to jump on the Josh McDaniels train again this time.
God, it's so...
Of course, if the Patriots go to the Super Bowl, he's going to look like a pretty good offensive mind again.
He ain't on the air right now. He'll be on the air at 10. If he wants to rip me up and down, fine. Go right on ahead. Take over the midday, rip me. I don't care. I don't care. It's... you can't... Like, if Daryl was my buddy at the Streetsboro High School football game and was just looking at me going, I don't care. Just get rid of him. We'll get whoever. That's fine. No big deal. It's our job. Is it not our job to find a guy and defend like Nick? Nick Wilson said, I don't know how. I can't see the video or I can't listen to the video, so maybe it's not in there. I apologize. Nick said, Ken, I'm not hearing the why on Udinski in this video. What has he done that makes him your guy? Asking honestly. I'm at the point right now where I'm hearing some things about Schwartz from some people that I don't necessarily care for, where it's like, hey, he is a hard-headed man. He's 59 years old. So that kind of throws me off a little bit. And so that kind of makes me nervous about Udinski or McDaniel or anybody like that. But if you get a 30-year-old guy, you're going to have to help him. Jim's going to have to know that. All right? Maybe that's part of the reason where they had one of the top 5 defenses 2 years ago. They didn't get any interviews for him. Or he didn't get any interviews. I don't know. I'm a big Jim Schwartz fan. I thought that it would be the least offensive of all the hires that they could get. Mike McDaniel, I think you got to air him out a little bit. But when it comes to Udinski, I'm giving you a bunch of things. Fine. Clearly, he's helped quarterbacks. Clearly, he's helped change the culture. Clearly, he's done all these things because I can't judge him because of play calling, even though I think the play calling is overrated. But we love to do it because it's something we can see every Sunday. So I'll say this. I'm not mad at Nick. I'm mad about other things. I ain't mad at Nick. Nick's a good host. Nick's a good guy. Not going after Nick. Daryl's a good guy and a good host, too. I'm really, really angry about the last call. That's all. He's clearly done all those things because if he clearly hasn't, then he has the greatest agent in the history of agents. That football coaches, not just insiders, not just the Schregers, and Jeremy Fowler's going to join us at 9:20. He clearly has all those things. Or he has the greatest agent who ever lived, because it's one thing for insiders to say it. It's another thing for other coaches to say it. It's another thing for other people around the game in the league to say it. They've said it about this guy, and I do feel in so many ways, I agree with Daryl. I don't think we're going anywhere in 2026. I think we'll probably win somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 6 games, just like you had said. I hope they win more, but I'm going to go low, okay? But pointing that out is that in that season, you will be more understanding of the 30-year-old, more than likely, more understanding of the 30-year-old than you are the 59-year-old. You're going to be more understanding. I'm trying to think of the best way to go through a tough season again for all of us.
I'm just telling you right now, though, Kenny, if they get off to a slow start with 30-year-old Udinski, who's never called plays before, never had any kind of big responsibility before, that's where you really test the mettle of a coach, because Mike Tomlin got off to a great start right away. Sean McVay, 11-6 right away, Super Bowl 13-3 next year. Like, that's easy. You get the buy-in.
Unless he does something that's record this.
If you have a typical Browns start to a season and they struggle and Shador doesn't look like he took a step forward, and now there's more conversation. Do the Browns need to trade for another quarterback? Do we need a tank for how do you survive that?
You're right. Great question. Glad you asked it, because I'll answer Nick's question again. Is if he goes out there and he looks completely overmatched as a football coach, as a decision maker, anything like that, and boy, we've known it, it's been a possibility because it's happened to us before, 2019. If he looks completely overmatched, then I don't just, if he's not ready to be a head coach, I'm a person who's gullible. I listen to a lot of people, obviously, and you can blame me as you want, but I'm just a media guy and a radio head and a guy getting mad on a Friday morning when I really shouldn't. But I'll turn right around and go, what did he do to convince you guys that you needed to hire him and lead him down the primrose path and lead this team down the primrose path? What did Andrew want out of this? Because, I'll meet Daryl halfway on something. I thought if you're going to make a change, you just go the entire way. But if you get a 30-year-old Udinski, hey, you know what? You could fire Andrew. That 30-year-old who's going to be 31 is staying after this year. If you win 5 or 6 games, they're going to go back and forth. And then maybe Udinski gets his guy. Maybe Udinski gets his quarterback finally. And hopefully we're not sitting here screaming and yelling at each other after how many years of being on the air with each other, one of us. I mean, how long? So hopefully we won't get another third-round wide receiver to alligator arm a pass, and then we won't have to go through all this again. So that's where I'm at on Udinski. Clearly he's done some things that we haven't seen because we haven't had a chance to see him. There's so many guys who do not get brought up in these circles. And maybe they're jealous. Maybe he would be a mess. But I've seen other guys. It's all the same. It's all, maybe Kenny, it'll work. Maybe it won't. We'll see how it works. So I want to go with the guy who might have, maybe he has the highest ceiling. If we are so obsessed with offense, to me it's either Jim or it's Udinski, and let's let it ride.
I just remember all the conversation about all these amazing leadership qualities in the infrastructure and culture of New England Gerard Mayo had. And he went 4-13 and got fired. And that guy played in the NFL and had that you would have thought instant credibility, right? Instant credibility. He played in the league, knows the league. It wasn't that long ago. He's obviously a disciple of Belichick. Like, he's checks off all these boxes, and 4-13 fired. So that's why. What are even the boxes for Udinski? I'm just playing devil's advocate here because might be the next Sean McVay. Don't know. Obviously has not called plays like Sean McVay had before he got his job. But that is what makes me nervous. I'm not going to lie. That is what absolutely makes me nervous.
I don't think anybody wouldn't be nervous. But I'm nervous about all of them.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about all of them. But my issue with all of this is that we had to know going in that it wasn't going to be a great big crop of coaches. Again, this was written 2 months ago at the very beginning. Wait, November is when I first did this. Kurt Cignetti was never on this list. Ryan Day was never on this list. Andy Reid in a trade was never on this list. I mean, come on, let's get serious here. It was, hey, let's go down and let's hit the phones and let's start texting some people about it. And I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I had heard of Udinski from a guy I know up in Minnesota, Matt. I told you that. But he wasn't on this list because I thought, hey, he's 30 years old. That's still a little bit young. Not on this list. And most of these guys have already. Has Clint Kubiak, has he interviewed yet? Anywhere?
With I thought he had something lined up.
Okay, so I'm gonna put a check next to him. Joe Brady, I don't think has. Has Joe Brady? I don't think he has. So I got 5 out of 6. 5 out of 6 that I like. I'll tell you a name that I put on there, and I'll be honest with you guys. I put a name on there, and I go, well, he'll run the ball pretty well. And then I went, it's going to go over like a lead balloon. You want me to tell you that name? I was like, would Arthur Smith get another crack at it? And then sure as hell, he's getting an interview to be a head coach. I don't think he'd go over well here.
Clint Kubiak interview with the Falcons.
There you go. Thank you very much. I'm going on their station today at 3:20. 92.9 The Game. So Daryl's going to be on at 10. I'm sure, and he should rip me because I just, went after him. All's fair. And I'm glad Nick asked the question because I let me reiterate for everybody going to work why I wanted Yudinsky. It's a good question to ask. See, we're all working together here. It's just, man, this is why I I don't like firing guys. If it's necessary to do, hear it in me. Hear how frustrated I am. Hear how I wanted to scream at Daryl while he's a guest on the show. Because looking for coaches sucks. It sucks. Oh, he hasn't called plays. Mike McDaniel's called plays. Would you guys be throwing a parade for him? You have Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz, he's got us, and he's got Baltimore, and nobody else has really been interested. Would you be throwing a parade for him? It's like 50-50 on everything. And so you can only go because there's no college tape that you can watch. It's just philosophy. It's just what you think that guy's going to do. And remember, they all have their ideas until they're thrown into that spot. So we have to throw in trust on guys that we're nervous about.
Did we make a mistake not firing Stefanski earlier and letting Schwartz get the interim tag? And then had they have won those last 2 games of the year, at least having those warm and fuzzies?
Honestly, it's probably the best of the ideas that have been thrown around here over the last 40 minutes. 216-474-0092. Jeremy Fowler, you're not going to want to miss it. We're hearing more about Todd Monken, a second interview, according to Peter Schrager, coming next week with the Cleveland Browns. We thought that he was going to the Giants. Not so fast. He could be coming back to Cleveland and interviewing on Tuesday. Going to ask Jeremy Fowler about that from ESPN coming up at 9:20 on The Fan. Northeast Factory Direct at northeastfactorydirect.com. I got in a great big argument earlier today. Lima and I got in a great big argument earlier today. Maybe I'm the problem. If you missed any of those moments, use the rewind feature on the free Odyssey app powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in water, fire, and storm disaster restoration. What do you think?
Boy.
Daryl's tweeting at me.
The two of you and then Nick Wilson going after you, and
Nick wasn't going after me. He asked the question. He wanted to engage. We engaged. I don't think that he was going after me in a nasty way. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I saw you slam your hands.
I reposted a series of photos of you getting thrown off the bull yesterday and people relating that to future Browns coaching searches. This is great. This is overall, I thought Friday would be a fun, hey, we had a blast last night with our listeners. Want to thank them for braving the elements to come out. Unfortunately, the Vikings didn't get the win, but a small setback, bigger picture. It was great to be there. And here we go, another day forward in the Browns coaching search, and we got the Cavs tonight, and we've got big-time divisional football, national championship on Monday. And Ken is right now at a crossroads.
Nico says, I think Daryl just doesn't want to be wrong. He doesn't want to attach his stamp of approval in fear of choosing the wrong guy to be the head coach when everyone knows it's a crapshoot.
It's a coaching search.
People do care. No, people do care about it. And the thing is that you got to pick somebody. So I don't care. They're going to pick somebody. I want to pick somebody. I'll pick somebody.
Last time around, I wanted Josh McDaniels so bad. I came on
he flamed out in a year and a half
and made a case. And so guess what? You don't hear me doing that again. Not just Josh McDaniels. In this hiring cycle, I have to be open-minded that a guy we've never heard of or has not had the responsibility before might actually be the guy. Like that of this hiring cycle, look at all the names that are getting interviewed right now. There are a bunch of guys that have had maybe some play calling a little bit in the past, but there's not the Ben Johnson this time around, not Mike Vrabel, not Sean Payton, not Jim Harbaugh, and John Harbaugh is off the books right now. So all these teams, there's 8 openings right now. After the Harbaugh job, after he took the job with the Giants. There's still 8 job openings. We're very early in the process. That's the other thing. Like, Daryl came on and said, I just want this thing to be over. It's like, Daryl, get ready. We could be doing this for another 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, we haven't had the chance to even interview guys that are on the good teams right now, the teams that are still playing. And normally, those are the coordinators. Every year in Philadelphia, that was the case. Oh, my God, Philadelphia, you can't talk to their OC. You can't talk to their DC until this. Same thing with the Rams when they're in these spots
exactly.
every year.
Like if they get Shieldhouse or something like that, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, they play Sunday at 6:30. That's a normal time. They play Sunday at 6:30. All right, well, if the Rams end up going to the Super Bowl, Nate Shieldhouse ain't going to be here for another month. February 8th, 3 weeks. It's going to be 3 weeks. Get ready. Get set. Now, I think eventually by the time he gets to the Super Bowl and other guys have jobs or things like that, I think you're going to kind of get it cleared up. Like when Kellen Moore, all they had to do was basically wait out Kellen Moore. Yeah, you might have that, but and I understand. I understand. You puff your chest out, and whoever joins this situation, this is why I said it wasn't a great job. Part of the reason I said it wasn't a great job. And that's again another one of the whys. If Nick didn't hear that in the clip or whatever, this is another one of the whys of why I'm down with Yadinsky. It's not that great of a job. I'll go with a guy who has a high ceiling, and I'll go with a guy that I'm going to want to give time to, because I don't want to go through all this again. If they win 4 games next year or 5 games next year, I think Andrew Berry will be gone. I think they would keep Yadinsky. Now, there'd be plenty on the field there and plenty of people lining up to say that he's a disaster too, so I'm going to have that argument. But we've had arguments about head coaches for on and off the last 6 years, depending on the season. So that part doesn't bother me as much as if you hired McDaniel, yeah, if they won 4 or 5 games next year, he'll just get canned too. And then we'll go through the whole thing all over again. And there will probably still not be that many stars, and depending on where you're drafting, nobody's going to be interested in it as well. I mean, good God. I mean, what was the thing of was it you said Simmons was telling Peter Schrager that he'd rather take an offensive coordinator job than a head coach of the Cleveland Browns? Who said this?
If you're an up-and-coming offensive coordinator that's starting to get interviews with some of the worst teams in football. And obviously, that's normally the situation for most teams without a head coach. Obviously, it's not the case in Pittsburgh. That you would be wise to say, go to Detroit to be their OC, or go to Philly and be their OC, as opposed to taking the Browns head coaching job and, he's assuming be bad for a year or two and get fired.
And it would be, you're going to make a lot of money regardless.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Fine. But, for a guy like Grant Udinski, I could look at him and say, well, do you go to a place where you call plays? Do you get the heat off you? I mean, a lot of this is right time, right place. They can be very political with organizations, with owners, because owners in so many ways are fans, with the exception of a couple. That's why the Steelers' job is a coveted job. But you could go somewhere and there's so much about timing. And if he goes somewhere and it's the wrong fit, maybe like he goes to Tampa to be the official offensive coordinator, the play caller, assistant AC, whatever, or assistant HC, whatever. And they still just can't get on the right page offensively. And, Baker's contract's up after that, and all of a sudden it's like, maybe you need a lot more seasoning, young man. Whereas, hey, you become the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. If the Browns don't work out, we just said it. There's plenty of people just willing to blame the Browns over Kevin Stefanski over these last 6 years. They'll probably blame the Browns over Grant Udinski or one of the other young guys, Nate Shieldhouse. And you'll get a second crack at it somewhere else. And in the meantime, you make life-changing money. You make a lot of money as a coordinator. You make life-changing money as a head coach. But, that's the spot we're in, man. Like, you still have this quarterback. You still have this quarterback contract hanging over your head. Like, yeah, it ain't good. Doesn't mean I just give up. They pick whoever. I don't care. Well, I'm supposed to care. You and I are supposed to care. The station's called The Fan. It's not called the 92.3 I don't care.
Well, thank God. By the way, thank God there wasn't
Thank God it's called The Fan.
There wasn't a GM search, because if you think we don't know about these guys, imagine trying to sit here and talk about guys that have managed salary cap or pro scouting.
You want to know sick? You want to know sick?
You have an envelope?
There's already
no, you don't have an envelope.
There's already a list in this folder.
Stop it. How many
there's
John
already
Carroll
a list in this folder. I think there's 3.
How many JCU got? Okay.
It's actually kind of long. I got to narrow them down here, but that's sickness, guys. You think I don't care about this stuff? I do. I'll still be wrong in the end. Matt and Mary, you've been on hold for a while. Hello, Matt. Matt.
How's it going, Ken?
Not terrible, friend. Go right on ahead, Matt.
It's got to be Jimmy Schwartz. It's got to be.
Oh, why? Now, how come?
It's the only guy that's accountable for a great defense and a great team philosophy.
Accountability is a big issue. Accountability has been a very, 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 very big issue for a long time here, even before Kevin. You're right about that. And, Go ahead.
Let's see what he's got. Ideas on the offense coordinator.
Now, I'll tell you this though. I'll tell you this. It's easier to be if this was a great offensive team and a terrible defensive team, I think it'd be easier to palate. Because at least I think for the general fans, but it's not. It's defense. The defense has played really well. If you know you're not the problem on a football team, isn't it a little bit easier to be accountable?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just putting each other through our paces, because I certainly wouldn't be upset if they made Jim the head coach. I think he's a good leader of men. It's on the other out. It's completely on the other end of Udinski. I understand that. But I still wouldn't be too terribly upset. There's really only one name, and they haven't considered him, that I would be really upset with and not like, and that's the whole Cliff Kingsbury thing.
In my dream scenario, to be honest with you, offensive coordinator would be Gruden, but I know that's a high probability.
No, he's going to be, and Matt, thank you for the call. He's going to be
either
a media member or a head coach. That's it.
Yeah, I thought we'd get more Gruden calls.
We got at the beginning.
Last week.
Well, again, is he still in the lawsuit?
Well, man,
I know the Browns don't care about upsetting the other owners, but
isn't Flores still in a lawsuit with the NFL?
I thought that got cleared up.
Did it?
I don't know. Did it? I know I'm Fatlock. I can only pay attention to so much. Mike in Strongsville. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Not terrible. I love your pipes. Continue.
Hey, I just wanted to say a few things here. I'm not saying I have all the answers. First and foremost, I love your guys' show. I listen every morning.
Thank you very much.
But Jimmy Haslam, let's talk about him. So do you think he sits in on these interviews?
Yes.
Yes.
And do you think that's being too far in the weeds? I mean, we talk about him being in the weeds with everything, making too many decisions. What about the business model of pulling him out, letting him not sit in these and see how those go? You know what I mean? It's just a rhetorical thought. And I want to talk about Mike McDaniels, Tommy Rees, and Jim Schwartz.
Go ahead.
So how do you think this looks? Jim Schwartz, head coach, offensive coordinator, McDaniels, or Tommy Rees, keep him, and then you got McDaniels in the background.
Well, I think if you're not hiring Mike McDaniel as a head coach, he's not going to come here because he has better options as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah. I just don't think he'd be a great head coach for us.
McDaniel?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you why.
I mean, I guess I'm asking you, over the last season, watching him in the media and coaching, do you think that would be a good idea to bring him here with our circumstances and everything we've seen over the past year or two with him?
Anybody who walks in is walking into a potential hornet's nest. The reason I think I am nervous, and I agree with you, like I don't mind McDaniel because I'm starting to accept the idea that he may very well be. I'm not shying from my prediction. I still predict. Do you predict, Lima, that it's still going to be McDaniel?
I don't know. I honestly,
Mike, I'll let you go. I'll answer your question.
That's
here.
almost a day-by-day thing because yesterday
I still predicted.
It was kind of like, all right, this makes sense. And we're going to have Jeremy Fowler, and he is somebody who's tapped in, and he's making phone calls. That news about Monken overnight.
And that's going to be interesting. And I know that Jeremy Fowler is going to address that when he joins us coming up at 9:21. Let me say two things. I still think it's going to be McDaniel. My worry is that while he, I think, is better at scheming run games than Kevin ever was, I worry that he's going to be ran over by Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz is a strong personality. That defense loves Jim Schwartz, loves him. And I think that's a fear you have with anybody. Now, McDaniel has been a head coach before. Maybe he just looks at it and says, I can't believe they've picked this guy over me. We got to get this thing going. Because as soon as they start 2-4, you might hear some rumblings. Now, you might hear the same thing when it comes to Yadinsky because you're going to go, well, wait a minute. You want the 30-year-old in there. I don't think you have any other choice but to be helpful of a 30-year-old head coach. Because he's still, while he could be brilliant, there's still going to be things that he's going to have to lean on you about. And remember, Kevin leaned on Bill Callahan a lot on things that Bill Callahan did. And Bill Callahan, I understand, Bill Callahan was a successful football coach as a head coach. He leaned on Bill Callahan a lot on some of the decisions that he had to make.
I think Kev leaned on Mike Vrabel a lot last year.
Exactly.
Guy made him ended up making him the offensive line coach.
I think you're nuts on that. I think you're 100% correct. And so Grant Yadinsky's going to have to lean on a couple of people. You have to have not some spirit guide, not just some old man to be there. I'm not making Jim Schwartz out to be that. It looks like you get bench press Cadillacs. But you're going to have to be more supportive. I think that you would question it more if they were to bring in Mike McDaniel. Go, I don't need to help this guy. He thinks he has all the answers. 216-474-0092. Coming in hot around 9:43. Coming up at, well, it depends on what Jeremy tells us. I got to tell you guys right now, depending on the news that Jeremy says, we might have to, no offense to Kayla, Owen isn't here. We'll see what Jeremy says because there could be some strong things we got to talk about.
Could be news.
After we talk to Jeremy Fowler, he will address the Todd Monken second interview situation coming up on Tuesday. Jeremy Fowler addresses that coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan. Window Nation. Let's get right down to it. Let's go to the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. It's 9:22 and 40 seconds for everybody scoring at home. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, good morning, guys. What are we scoring?
Well, just making sure, because sometimes when I start interviews like that, people are going, this is recorded. I go, no, it's not recorded. Nope, not at all. It is now 9:22 and 55 seconds for those scoring at home. So sorry, Jeremy.
Hey, man, hey, every mic's a hot mic. You guys know that.
Oh, we do better than most.
But you could also record yourself saying that time and just hope to time it up.
That would be pretty interesting timing. Anyway, Jeremy, I got to get down to it here. A second interview with Todd Monken. What does that mean? Would that put him as the leader in the clubhouse to the Cleveland Browns?
No, I don't think so, although I think he did well in his first interview, and he'll be in the mix here, and that's what that signifies. So my understanding is they got some more first interviews to do this week. Nate Shieldhouse with the Rams, young pass game coordinator, will talk to the Browns today. They've already done a lot of their interviews, and then Saturday will be Wonder Kid Grant Udinski from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then they will go into second interviews. They might have one more Sunday, but my anticipation is early next week will be heavy on second interviews, and then the Browns will regroup. I don't think they'll be done with this by mid to late next week unless they just recognize, hey, one of these guys is the must-have, and we got to shake this tree and get it done, which happens, right? I mean, that happened with the Giants with John Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Different situation. But so right now they have, by my count, 7 candidates. I think there are 9 candidates. I think 2 more of those, Shieldhouse and Udinski, still have to interview for the first time virtually. And then they'll get to it. But I'm not surprised that Monken's in that group. He actually he interviews very well. He's known for it. He was a finalist in Green Bay and New York once upon a time. I know he's not like the hottest name, and he's a bit older, but he's an exceptional interview.
Jeremy Fowler joining us, ESPN. You know, Grant Udinski, I've given my reasons why I like him, but you know a hell of a lot more people around the league than I do, Jeremy. That's why we have you this morning. What has made him a hot commodity or a hotter commodity, heating up commodity at such a young age?
Well, you know, it's funny. I talked to some people in Jacksonville this week who work with him, and, you know, they say he has a way of utilizing the next level offensive thinking that he has, but then also being able to dumb it down to the other coaches and players. Because he tends to see the game a different way, and he's in the weeds with it as far as how he learns it and eventually teaches it. But some guys struggle with relaying that to the players. I'm told he's very skilled at keeping things simplified, even if he's trying to do next level stuff offensively. So I do the stuff about, you know, smartest guy I've ever met and all that. Like, you do hear that from people. I think that is legit. It's just a matter of the fact that he's 30 years old and probably not ready right now as we speak to be a head coach, but that's depends on what your style is, right? If you're trying to get ahead of it and you see a guy who in 2 years is going to be a superstar, that's sort of the thought with these things. And the Browns are in position to take that sort of swing on a Shieldhouse or a Udinski, or, you know, even like a Dan Pitcher. I would not discount him at all. In fact, I know there are people with the Browns who have looked at him as a future head coach, and not just right now, but before this cycle. So I believe he'll be a name to watch as well.
Jeremy Fowler joining us with all the latest, and a good friend of ours, Mary Kay Cabot, just reported that Jim Schwartz is going to get a second head coaching interview on Monday. So when you start to see these, is that make it more realistic? Obviously, the guys that are going to get a second opportunity, she notes that Tommy Rees is not expected to get that second interview. So maybe we can start narrowing things down here a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's going to be fascinating with Schwartz being in the mix here, because there's so many layers to this. You have obviously the option, which I reported on earlier last week, that the Browns have thought long and hard about having him as the D coordinator for the new head coach, who would be offensive minded and can grow in the role and would have Schwartz to lean on. I think that's a model that has been discussed. They have not shot down that model or put water on it. So that tells me there's something to it. However, I do think he has a realistic chance at the head job too. And if he doesn't get the head job, does he want to stay here and do that with somebody new that he doesn't have a relationship with? If the guy they pick as a head coach, does he want Schwartz, as good as Schwartz is, does he want that? Or maybe he's green enough where he doesn't really have a DC and needs that. You know, like, there's so many questions that they need to answer with the second interview process in particular. Because remember, the first interview process really is, for the most part, about getting to know these guys and what they're about, their philosophies, their background, their passions. And then the second interview is, okay, how are you going to win games in this job? And what are you going to do with the roster? And what are you going to do with your coaching staff? Like, that's where you really get knee deep into that stuff. So we're not there yet. That's why we can't give all the answers. But the Schwartz domino here is fascinating. And I see a world where he stays either as DC or head coach. And he's under contract. Like, that's what was stressed to me. It's not like he can just leave for the Dallas defensive coordinator job. Like, I don't think they want to let him do that unless the new head coach doesn't want him.
We're just going through some of the names, obviously, that we have heard. Mike McDaniel, who interviewed with the Ravens recently. He is someone who's been on the Browns' radar, has been in that building before. He was a lot younger, a little more immature. So that had been noted. What are your thoughts on McDaniel and where it all ends up with him? Could he be an OC somewhere instead for a year?
Well, yes. I believe that him stepping back and being an OC for a year is on the table, certainly. For my understanding is McDaniel's just trying to meet with people, kind of see what the vibe is with head coach and OC coordinator jobs. He's meeting with Tampa today for their OC job. That one I would not sleep on, a Tampa-McDaniel pairing. It's funny, Mike McDaniel had a 35-33 record, which is the same record that Todd Bowles has had during that time. So I think his Miami tenure will age somewhat well. I know the Browns have long had a respect for McDaniel and kind of like wondered, is he going to be available? And he is. So we'll see where that goes. I think the stuff about his leadership issues and all that, I mean, you hear different stories, something that's overblown just because he doesn't look like a traditional football coach. Others say, that it's hard to keep that message up for 4 years, if you don't have that so-called football toughness component. So I don't know. I don't buy into that completely. I think the guy can win, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's an OC next year. We'll see. But it's not a great candidate pool, and there are 8 more jobs, so he could certainly win one, and I do expect him to interview well.
Jeremy Fowler joining us on the Make It Right Call Kyle Wright hotline. He comes from ESPN. You know him. You love him. Does Shador Sanders have any weight, yes or no, on these candidates and coming and interviewing for this job and accepting this job?
I would be highly surprised. Now, maybe in a second interview setting, I think they'll talk about Shador, certainly, and the plan at quarterback and the guys that are on the roster. But I would be surprised if Shador is on the whiteboard drawing it up with Udinski on a Tuesday. Like, I don't think. Now, if it was the number one pick, like Cam Ward in Tennessee right now, I could see that. Even though I don't even think they'll go that far, because these teams, they want to make their own pick. They don't want to give players power in that, but they do want input. So I think Cam Ward will have some level of input in Tennessee.
Well,
but this is just different. Sorry, it's fifth round pick.
Yeah,
played okay, but I think he could be a bridge potentially. But I don't think he's the answer. I think he'll be another quarterback next year.
Well, you think there's going to be another quarterback next year?
Sure.
You heard anything?
I mean, nothing hard and fast. But I think it depends on how things shake out. The draft is problematic now a little bit because it seems to be a thinner pool of quarterbacks, where I think that was going to be a big swing for them potentially, depending on how things shook out. So what do they have? They have a pick in the 20s and then a pick in the 6th, somewhere in the top 10.
Yeah.
So that doesn't assure you the right guy necessarily, but we'll see. But you have, look, Daniel Jones could return to Indianapolis, but he could be available. I think Malik Willis is intriguing to a lot of teams. My sense is Cleveland is one of those teams, and he'll have a decent little market. He's not going to get huge money, but he's done well under Matt LaFleur and looked good, and you can run the ball with him, and you can do a lot of things with him. So I just think some of those options will at least be on the table for the Browns. They have to be. I mean, I don't see another option. Other than okay, if you're just going to roll with Shador, that's great. But I just think they're going to be looking around and at the very least have competition.
Well, have you heard anything on the Browns side of it where they might have went into any of these interviews what are you going to be able to do with Shador? Is it hey, you know what? His future is up in the air. Ideas about the future of the position. Are they open-minded to it?
I think they're open-minded. I have not heard anything hard and fast about the interviews in that regard yet. I should have more over the weekend, but I do think the first interview is more just about like getting to know somebody and seeing if the vibe is right. I really do. I don't know that they're in the weeds on that yet. I do know the Browns have done a ton of legwork on all these candidates, like more so than any other team you could imagine. Like one guy I heard from who's a representative of one of the candidates said that he thought they made like 40 calls on just ex-teams, ex-teammates. They've done a lot of legwork on these guys, and they're, as you can imagine, very thorough. They have a big scouting department. They have a lot of people, both analytically and scouting, so they're getting to it.
Jeremy Fowler, ESPN NFL Insider, joining us. You had mentioned the coach that had worked with Malik, and that is obviously Matt LaFleur. Why have we not heard much in the way of any teams interested in pursuing him via trade? Browns do have 5 picks in the top 107.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, my sense on that is that, Matt LaFleur is a highly respected coach who, if he were a free agent right now, he would get a job. I don't think there's any doubt about that, and probably one of the better jobs that are available. They, in Green Bay, do value him, but the fact that he needs an extension is the sticking point here, because if you're Matt LaFleur, you can say, hey, I've got this record over 7 years. I deserve to be among the highest paid coaches, where the Packers can say, well, hey, the last 2 years haven't been great. Maybe we're more willing to give you a second-tier contract. I can't say that for certainty, but that is my read on the situation. We'll see where that goes. They have to work out that, or decide, do you want to be a lame duck coach next year, final year of your contract, which he might not want to do. Plus, they have to extend the general manager. So there are a lot of layers to this that take time to figure out. And I do sense if it's just a matter of, hey, we want LaFleur back in 26, I do think the answer to that is yes. But it's about more than that right now.
Okay, I think it's great to have you on because you kind of know how these things really break down. When it comes to the actual coaching interviews, as you get deeper in the process, are the owners typically sitting in these interviews? How active are they? And then obviously Jimmy Haslam, his son-in-law kind of ran the Kevin Stefanski situation 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Is he in on all these?
Well, my expectation is that J.W. Johnson will be involved. He's been on the ground with the Browns for a long time now, and he's certainly all in and invested in the process. So I would be surprised if he's not, and I think Jimmy and Dee will be too. I just don't know if they're in on these virtuals or not. Certainly Andrew Berry is running the search. He has a lot of people in the building that he values that could be involved. So, but beyond that, I think it's still in that sort of cursory stage. I'd be surprised if Jimmy's not involved in the process, particularly the second round of interviews. I think that's where these guys make their money and where the Browns do too, as far as identifying the right guy.
Jeremy Fowler joining us on the show. What is Kevin Stefanski's future as you're seeing it?
Well, I think he's on the hot seat in Cleveland, No, when you asked me that, it brought me back to like 3 weeks ago, He's got a good chance to get one. I mean, the Giants, I believe he would have been one of the backup plans. Or certainly in the mix there if they didn't hire John Harbaugh. Mm-hmm. So that takes them off the Giants list because they're locked in. So for Kevin, that would be the Raiders. That would be the Dolphins. I mean, he's talking to everybody. The Ravens and the Titans, the Falcons. I mean, he was on the circuit heavy last week and this week. So I think he'll get one. I do. I just don't know which one it will be. As an absolute backup plan for him, he could go be the Philly OC and kill it. I mean, I think he would do really well there. As far as like, he's kind of got a Kellen Moore demeanor. Kellen Moore did really well there in 24. It'd be a good offset for Nick Sirianni, who's a little more passionate. I could see that working. He could get Jalen Hurts under center more, and he did some under center work this year, but he could get him in that classic play action work that Kevin did well in Cleveland in the previous years, maybe not so much this year. And, the Titans are looking hard at former head coaches. I still think Matt Nagy is well positioned there, but Stefanski, I think, is in the mix there as well. Falcons, his system would make a lot of sense. Hearing some Clint Kubiak buzz there, that Clint Kubiak's well positioned, but I think Kevin will be too. So he's going to have some options. I'd be surprised if he does not get a head coaching job this cycle. And even the Ravens have been open about, like, they like these retread coaches. Owner Steve Bisciotti said that publicly, like, I like guys that were once a hot name and then they get a job and then they don't have the right resources and it falls off and then they're available again.
Jeremy, you've been very kind with your time. Thank you very much for it. Hopefully we'll talk to you again very soon. All the best.
Sounds great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. So we got two guys lined up.
Munkin and Schwartz.
Second interviews. Which, by the way, thank God, I had that weird feeling. I'm like, well, are they spending half a day? Are they really serious about it? I didn't think they were that serious. Clearly, they're serious if they're going to bring Jim back and have another interview with him. Same thing with Munkin. So I'm glad I was wrong about that feeling. 216-474-0092. Second interview with those guys, and then you got some of the pups that are going to be coming in over this weekend. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
Help it beat the books with the Westwood One Sports. Love the drink. Hate the drink. Love the drink. The Pats passer could be quite effective again on the ground against a Texans D that allowed the 9th most rush yards to quarterbacks in the regular season. I'm tailing the following SGP. Pats money line and Drake May 25-plus rush yards at plus 120. Bet smarter and beat the books. Download the Bet.
Oh, lots of news coming in. 3 minutes ago, Browns are currently interviewing Jesse Minter for their head coaching opening. So there's another check on my list that I came up with 2 months ago.
Things are heating up, ladies and gentlemen.
Because, at least I put in the work, for crying out loud here. He'll have a chance to have his say coming up at 10 o'clock. Jesse Minter interviewing right now with the Cleveland Browns for the head coaching job. People cussing each other out in social media. I'm going to X that out so I don't accidentally read some of those words. Also, Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer and Cleveland.com saying that Jim Schwartz will interview again on Monday, correct? Monday. And then on Tuesday, Todd Monken is going to interview again with the Cleveland Browns. So that was from where? Schreger, you said? From Peter?
Well,
Which one was it?
Yeah, he had it overnight that Monken was going to. He was on the Bill Simmons podcast that everybody had just thought it was a foregone conclusion. He was going to the Giants to be the OC.
Well, that's what was reported.
Yes. And Peter Schrager overnight said, but he's interviewing with the Browns. And so we have Minter, we have Schwartz, we have Monken. No Tommy Rees. It looks like the thoughts of Tommy becoming the head coach of the Browns if he's not getting a second interview.
You don't know.
We'll come to an abrupt end.
It's not, because you say that, and then they hired Tommy, and then you got a problem. I don't want to hire Tommy as a head coach, but we'll see where it goes.
And then it was interesting.
I wouldn't be screaming and yelling. I told you, there's one guy who would just be like, "Oh my God," head in the hands, wouldn't believe it. But other than that,
and then Jeremy Fowler saying Browns are doing more legwork than any other team in the NFL.
Does that make you feel better?
Making all the calls in the world. Okay, so they're casting the wide net. And they're not the only ones doing it, but they're casting the wide net.
Well, hold on. Define cast the wide net. We got to.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be a problem with you here.
Just they don't sound stubborn. It has to be this type of a coach, right? Like they are looking, no stone unturned kind of thing. Now, again, they're not the only team. They're not unique in doing that. Because I think you want to gather as much intel as you can. You want to find out, hey, what do other coaches think about your quarterback room? Pretty important, right? How many years would it take to overhaul the offense to get it to where it needs to be so we can compete and match it up with the defense? These are all questions. What do you think now? Dante Moore's not coming out, but that would have been something you would have asked these guys about. So I think that's a fact-finding mission that you owe it to yourself to get some outside of the building, maybe expertise. I think that's fair. I mean, look, we said goodbye to Paul DePodesta, but we kept Andrew Berry, but we said goodbye to Kevin Stefanski. That inherently comes with a shakeup. So, you're going to be open-minded into other things. I don't think they're going to be so dogmatic to Andrew Berry's, thought process and guardrails like you're opening up the building. You're letting outsiders in. So let's see, what other people think around the league. I think that's standard way of operating. And then the thought, I did ask them, how involved are the Haslams? And I know people bristle when they heard, oh my God, what, JW's back in this thing and Jimmy and D are going to be back in it? It's standard operating procedure,
He's one of the managing partners. He's one of the managing partners. He's one of the owners.
And furthermore,
that's what owners do.
Furthermore, this is where owners, I know people will not want to hear this, but I am actually okay with it. They have run businesses for a long period of time, and not just Pilot Flying J. And on the D. Haslam side of things, the cable industry, the telecommunications industry, they do understand certain traits that successful people have. That's how they're worth billions of dollars. It's not just luck. I know we like to think that, billionaires just, they woke up in the morning and were handed their billions and they took advantage and that was it. Like, no, this took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears for many years. And I do think that successful people have their ways of finding other successful people.
They're involved.
Doesn't mean they're always going to be right, but yes, they're going to have a hand in the coaching search. Pretty important thing for a franchise that's worth maybe $5 billion.
Sometimes this is why I think you and me kind of roll our eyes at certain things. And it becomes tough because we do this with the other owners in town too, is you want the owners involved until you don't want the owners involved, and you don't want the owners involved until you really want the owners involved.
True. So true.
And so with the teams good, like when they went to the playoffs in 2023, and no one lined up to say boo to a goose.
We had
calls in 2020 when they went to the playoffs thanking them.
I know.
Thanking them, saying we should give them credit.
And then after the last years, Jimmy, come back and take care of this. Come on.
Whereas hey, there's some stuff with Paul Dolan, obviously, where at the end of all of this, I can always say, He definitely wants to keep the team in Cleveland. I think he's been a fine citizen of the city as best he can as far as owners go. Like, there's always going to be the ugliness and bitterness in the thing, because I just don't think that owners are meant to be liked. I really don't, in any sport. I think that you can name on one hand the fan bases that like their owner, and I think that that's always a tenuous relationship at best. They're the owners of the team. They're certainly more than welcome to be part of that process, and really they should. If I own the Cleveland Browns, yes, I'm going to be in every one of those meetings. Every one of those meetings. And you would too. Kayla would if she owned the Browns. Daryl would if he owned the Browns. Everybody would be in the meetings. There's no way. No way they wouldn't. 216-474-0092. So I have no problem with that, because you want to see somebody you're still taking somebody to represent your franchise. And some of this does become a little bit political over time. With Monken, I'm a little bit surprised. I think that this is a guy. How old is Todd Monken? He's 60, right? Monken's 60. I think that there is, and this is it, 59. He'll be 60 next month. So he's going to be 60, right? Todd Monken has been a head coach once at Southern Miss. All right? Left being a head coach at Southern Miss, went to Tampa Bay to be their offensive coordinator when he was the head coach at Southern Miss. Now, obviously, there's a big difference from Hattiesburg, Mississippi, up to the NFL, clearly. I think you're looking at a guy who's definitely intrigued by this, going, yes, if he were to become the offensive coordinator to the Giants, he could stick it to the Ravens. He could help his former boss, maybe his future boss, help stick it to the Ravens. I do got to think, though, he's a guy who definitely wanted to be in charge of his offense when he was here in 2020 or 2019 with Freddie. I think he's definitely a strong-willed person. I think that you're looking at going, if you're not a head coach now, when are you going to be a head coach at 60-something years old? Because if it works out with John Harbaugh, are you going to find a better spot at 60-something year? Now, what was the other job he's interviewed for? To be the head coach. Now, he's had nibbles before. For whatever reason, he's turned it down, or he didn't get it, or whatever. Now you're at 60. And I think a lot of these guys, there's only a couple of guys, I think, out there that people would be, and I want opinions, clearly. I mean, this is an important thing here. This is the head coach of the effing team, man. But I don't think there's very many people that would be so angry at just about any one of these names that we're talking about that say that they would be out on the Browns. I think maybe I'd get a little bit of Yadinsky because he's 30. I think some people might be that way. Now, you know where I stand on it. I given those reasons before. I'm definitely open-minded to him. But like Todd Monken, if they hired Todd Monken, I'm not going to come in here and say that they've made a tremendous mistake. I think he's a very good offensive mind.
Who is the most polarizing name that if they hired them, fans would lose their mind? I do think it would probably be Udinsky, just because of the relative lack of experience and never calling plays.
I think that would be it. I think there'd be some ageism in there. I think some people wouldn't take him seriously because he's 30.
I agree.
I think the other hand, I got to be honest with you. I got to say McDaniel, because it's exactly what Jeremy was saying. He is not a conventional coach. He is very open-minded.
They
it's
saw
very
him here get his ass
partnership-oriented.
kicked. That always sticks with people.
Yep. And you get his ass kicked every week or against us?
Here.
Yeah.
Here, and wearing the glass. I'm telling you, wearing that outfit. I know that's on its face. It's very silly.
Well, but
like if he was wearing a dress but was winning games, would people care?
It's the lowest. It's the lowest of the low. I get that, but that's the stuff that you get. That's the first thing that you think of. It's the first thing that you think of. If you're watching games with your family next year and things don't go well, that's the first thing you're going to hear. It's the same thing when we talk about when we roll our eyes. And I've done it once, much to my chagrin, because I actually thought that's the way it kind of was, because I know that they like to say we zig when everybody else zags. Andrew had said that before. But they're the smartest guys in the room. Everybody thinks they're the smartest guys in the room. Think of the dumbest football coaches you can think of. They think they're the smartest guys in the room. They all do. You will hear that. So, yeah, it's a little cheap, but no, it's true. It's true how that goes. I don't think I'd be very mad. Minter, if he were hired, I think that'd be interesting, especially if the Ravens didn't really want him. Seems like the Ravens are kind of honing in a little bit on him. Schwartz, obviously everybody knows I think the world of Jim Schwartz as a defensive coordinator, and I think I'd like to give him a whirl as head coach. Monken, I'm definitely open-minded to Monken. Older guy. I think, though, that he might work well with Jim Schwartz. I think they're both strong-willed guys, but I think there could be a lot of respect for each other there.
I'll tell you, I want Stefanski to go to the Raiders. I just want to see Stefanski and Mendoza, and we would be watching their games like a hawk all year.
Do you want to call up? You want to come over and get drunk, and we call them up and go, da-da-dun-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
You think we can get to a game?
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The autumn wind is Kevin Stefanski, pillaging just for fun.
We play the Raiders this year, by the way.
Oh,
at
God.
home.
No.
Stefanski and Mendoza at Brown Stadium. Let's go.
No, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Can you imagine Shador and Gary Udinsky against
Grant? His name is Grant.
Dennis Udinsky and Stefanski and Mendoza.
No.
Let's go.
No.
That's football. That's a game in the elements. Can you imagine?
Have a wonderful day.
Dion in one suite. Signetti in the other. Let's go.
Hey.
Bye, honey. Have a great day.
It's time for some commercials.
This is an Odyssey Sports Minute.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino, your online casino for plays,